So we now got reputation as like, we would say they're devil worshippers or witchcraft. We didn't care. I mean, in the early days, we've done a few things that I regret, like desecrating churches to rule God out of our life. He said, if you'd have killed your son that day, you would be a multimillionaire now, Paul. I woke up with an impulse to harm my son, Alfie. Yeah, and it was a fear. It was like, you want me to kill Alfie? That's where my state of mind was then. You've got to understand my state of mind then. But you invoke a certain name, which was a female spirit, to come in of lust and sex, to come in and have sex with me in the cell. You're into God as a massive, you're all of it, the organisation are seemingly into God, but the organisation is dealing in heroin and diamonds.
What did you feel more protective with, the dark side or the Christ?
Both. If I go there, they know what I'm into. And I'll say, what are you into? He went, the devil. In their eyes, it'd be the devil. When I was in prison, I told you about the Ouija board, yeah, a spirit called Nip. I don't really trust this board telling me what it's telling me. But it created such a powerful story that this guy was coming to us and he's going to do what he's going to do, that we need to kill him.
This week's episode is sponsored by Change. Change is the #1 mentoring program that teaches you e-commerce from scratch. Change has a real community with real results. I have attended many of his events and retreats across the world and got to meet members and the amazing community of like-minded people. Ryan works with a lot of big names in the business world, helping them build online businesses and e-commerce. Change offers personal one-on-one support, no experience needed, but like anything, this takes time and is not a get-rich-quick scheme. Go follow Ryan on Instagram at RyanJB, and he will guide you through the steps to help you get started and build a successful online business.
And you can watch the full podcast of me and Ryan talking about his life from where he has came from to what he is doing now. You can now follow me on all my social media platforms to find out who my latest guest will be. And don't forget to click the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you're notified for when my next podcast goes live. And boom, we're on. And today's guest, we've got Paul Stockton. Paul, how are we?
I'm good, thank you, James. How are you?
Yeah, really well, thank you. First and foremost, thanks for coming on the show, Paul. I'll plug your book straight away, The Battle Within.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Where can people buy it?
Amazon,
prison, addictions, cults, religion, God, higher power. A pretty mad story.
Yeah, it is.
But fair play, you're still here to tell the tale.
I am still standing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Before we get into all the madness though, I always like to go back to the start with my guest, get more a bit of understanding about you, where you grew up and how it all began.
Well, I grew up in Turpington Lane, which is Bromley Common, in Kent. Yeah, well, that's all in the book anyway. And I went to school round there. Princess Plain was my first primary school. And then Ravenswood was my second school. I got kicked out of there at 13. And then I was out of school for another year or two.
What'd you get kicked out for?
Just biting, really. Normal.
How was family life?
Mum, dad was like a bit more harsh than mum, but it was pretty stable upbringing. But there was something missing with my dad, you know. We never seemed to see eye to eye all the time. Mum was like in the middle of us most of the time. This is what forced me to leave home at 15. Couldn't live with my dad anymore. We kept falling out and that wasn't good for my mum, you know. So that's where I really started going on the streets at 15 years old.
What were you doing?
Anything I could to get money. I was rubbing shoulders with the right people then. I had someone called Uncle Alex. He wasn't my real uncle, he's my dad's friend. He was kind of a drug dealer, used to do armed robberies and things like that. A ladies' man. And I kind of liked that about him, you know, and I kind of followed him. If I'd have followed my dad and done what he done, which was work hard in landscape gardening, I probably never got in all the trouble that I got into. But Alex, that kind of appealed to me, and I think that's something that addicts look for, like that fixation on something. So yeah, sorry, what was the question again?
Yeah, was your dad a working man?
Dad worked as landscape gardening. Yeah.
Was that a regret not listening to your dad, or was it just so toxic?
It is. I mean, it is. I kind of do that now. So it taught me a trade, but back then I wanted more. I wanted it all. I wanted like fast cars, nice clothes, money, do what I want, go where I want, that kind of thing. And the people in the manor who were doing them sort of things, I liked, and kind of, well, my destiny took me that way, didn't it? And Uncle Alex, with his like telling me little stories that he used to do, it was like, I want to be like you, Alex.
Did you gravitate towards the bad stuff straight away?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
Obviously, some of the stuff I can't tell you because I've not been arrested for anything yet.
Yeah, of
but
course.
like all sorts of crimes, whether it's like ring snatches and little tie-ups here and there, Well, I think I can put that out there.
What about, so when you're 15, on the streets, trying to make a living for yourself, like what sort, was it a petty crime of stuff, shoplifting?
No. There's something I can honestly say, I was never a thief. Well, worse, but not like of petty stuff. I was never breaking into people's houses and things like that. That weren't me. Mine was like, there was money somewhere, I'd go in there and take it, mask up and that kind of thing. It was like on the pavement sort of thing that inspired me, and the people I knew who were older doing that stuff inspired me even more.
Was it kamikaze jobs, or were you getting information?
Some were kamikaze, yeah. Some were on the spur of the moment. You go and check it out, and I just looked at me pal and I go, do it now, eh? Yeah, fuck it. Let me do it there. And they're probably some of them on the spot things at the time were good. But that's just when I was a teenager, young, at them days, there weren't cameras, we'd broken into a place before where there was a safe. And when we've gone in now, the alarms are going off. So we had to climb in through a building, through the top all the way down. Remember, I'm about 16, 17 then, yeah? Climb down through a building to get into this particular place. And then we crawl into where the safe is, because the shop high street is out there. People can see in the windows. Nighttime, people walking up there still. And as we crawl into the safe, we can hear the alarm going off. So we had to double back, come out the place. And, well, there was no police. No police come at all. So that was back then. It was easy, is what I'm saying. Whereas today, you couldn't do that sort of thing. But I was just trying to find my way back then with different people, earning money how I could. And then it got into, that's when I got into the drug side of things, and see that there was more money to be earned in that.
What sort of gear were you doing?
Weed, puff, speed. Speed was the main thing in them days. Everyone was, before cocaine started coming out, getting really popular, it was speed. It was like a poor man's cocaine, wasn't it? And
soft black.
And back then used to get Sensimelia as well. And I knew, got to meet people from all walks, different areas, who were quite high up. And because of my Uncle Alex, he had influence with these people. And because I was boxing at a young age and I was getting myself a reputation on the streets, etc., them kind of people like you random. Even though you're a young kid, for one of my friends, Bumble, his name is, he's dead now, rest his soul, yeah? He was like, he'll be in that book as well. He was like a mentor to me in some respects. He's about 5 years older than me. So when I'm like 15 years old, homeless, I bump into him. He's like 20 and he's already doing tie-ups and he's already selling drugs. And like, it's a long story, but it's in the book. In short, he set me path on it. He took me into his home and he said to me like, there's a room there, you can just help clear up. And I thought he meant like clear up the flat and everything. Not the flat, the house where I'm living. And, no, clear up the stuff, like when we do chopping up speed and puff, etc. When we chop up the speed and the puff, there'll be residue on the table and bits here and everywhere. We ain't got time to go out selling it. Clean it up. What you've cleaned up, you can have. So I was scraping in. I don't know if you've ever done that kind of thing, but you get a card and you're scraping powder, residue of cocaine or speed or whatever's on the table. You get quite a bit there, didn't you? Oh, okay. So I'd pack it up and sell it to my mates. And that's really what inspired me to start getting into it more and more. And the more I was with Bumble, the more I got to meet new people who were higher up the ladder. And then you get no more, don't you? And before you know it, you're like getting bigger and bigger amounts for people.
When did you start the boxing?
9 years old.
Who put you into that?
Dad. Yeah. So this is the duality. Okay, like I say, it's in the book. Mum on one side was the loving, nurturing, supportive person. Give me all the love. Everything I know about love, I learned from my mother. Yeah. Whereas my dad was that old cockney. I'm the governor. I put the money on the table. Kiss that fucking buzzer. You know, take the remote control off the kids. Wife looks after the kids, does all the washing and everything. He works hard, puts money on the table. Yeah. You know, he was an honest man, though, my dad. I'm not taking that away from him. But the duality is my mum and my dad. And like, when he first took me to a boxing club, I was 9 years old, or nearly 9. And he took me to the Downham Boys Club. And that's where he used to train when he was younger, in weightlifting and a bit of boxing. And when he took me in there, I was crying. He said, no, he wanted me to go and get in the ring and do some sparring. Previously to that, he'd got us boxing gloves at home, my brother and me, and we'd sparred a little bit. But I didn't really, that weren't me. I was mummy's boy, yeah? So when he's like telling me to go and get in this ring with these big, like, boys, well, I don't want to go in there, Dad. I started crying. They called me a baby and he took me away. And then he got me gloves and he trained me up for another 6-7 months. And then he took me down to Marvel's Lane Boxing Club, which is the boxing club where my cousin Dennis was already there. So that was a bit more support for me. But it was at Marvel's Lane, I found my balls, because all of a sudden I was getting in the ring and scrapping. And there was another side of me coming out, which was my dad's side. That was latent. I didn't know I had it until he took me into the boxing club. And there was a guy down there called Jason Groves, who was an ABA champion. He was one of the best fighters in the club. And he used to batter me every sparring session, batter me and batter me and batter me. But I took on his style and developed. And before long, he wasn't battering me. You know, it was pretty equal. I wouldn't say I'd batter him back, but he wasn't battering me anymore. And I started winning my fights and championships. So, you know, my dad liked that. Because he could boast me off to his friends, you know, give him an excuse to come out, go up the pub while I was in the gym sometimes, yeah. But
were you scared of your dad?
When I was younger, I was scared of him. My dad could fight, you know, he weren't no fool. I think a lot of the old school can scrap, you know, but he could have a fight. And I'll see him knock people out, and he used to love headbutting. So that was something I learned of him, was the headbutting. But his temper was terrible, and as a child, I see him do things that I shouldn't have seen. You know, a lot of people see these things, but yeah, I was scared of him until 13, 14. I started getting a bit gobby back, and then he'd take me on and challenge me, and yeah, we'd fight then. And he'd have me when I was expelled from school or excluded from school. He'd have me at work because he's 13, 14 years old, and try and put me on a straight and narrow, and I just didn't like that kind of way he talked to me, because he was arrogant, and I was so like that as well. I was being like mirroring him, I suppose, and he was conflicting all the time. And many a time we'd be rolling around the floor on a job where we're fighting, but he would never hit me properly. But I'm a kid to him, yeah. But I'm trying to have a go back, and then he'd sack me, and that'd be my way of getting out on the streets. Or he'd say, "You go to your bed," and not out of my bedroom. So I used to climb down the window and out to the streets with all the older boys. So it was trying to get out there in the world all the time.
How was your dad's upbringing? Because it sounds as if your dad was all right, you know, putting you into boxing, trying to get you a job.
It took me all these years to realise that.
Do you think it's because he didn't really... It's not... Back in the day, you were getting slapped, you were getting a kick up the ass if you were misbehaving. I don't think fathers back then knew how to love, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I mean,
that was their way of showing you.
It's took me all these years to now admire and respect him. Mm-hmm. But back then, it wasn't like that. Like you say, was I fighting of him? Yeah, I was. And then all of a sudden, you know, there's a thing in a boxing ring. You say the most dangerous fighter is a scared fighter that's not scared anymore. So you're fighting someone, they're scared coming in the ring. Then all of a sudden, they're not scared of you anymore. They become dangerous. They normally end up winning the fight. So when I'm not scared of my dad anymore, I was like that 2 balls in a pen. I was challenging him all the time. So I get it now that he was like seeing his son there. He probably loved me, but he could never show me love. He didn't know how to, because as you asked me a minute ago, what was his life like? He was one of 4 brothers, and he had 2 sisters, and his dad was a bare knuckle fighter. He was always coming home to the boys fighting. So all his brothers were fighting. When they moved to Downham, there used to be in a shop, on a shop window, a billboard used to have their name on it. Stockton's are fighting again, and the name was terrible. And the mum and the dad, my granddad and my grandma, Billy and Rosie, they was embarrassed, I suppose, because the kids were always fighting with each other. He'd come back from the docks and have to fight his sons as well. So my dad, being the youngest brother, was probably inspired to do better, because he'd get the hand-down clothes, scraps off the table. Like, he used to tell me, well, I used to get Christmas an orange if I was lucky. And oh yeah, whatever. But yeah, apparently that's what he used to get when he was really young, an orange.
And his 3 brothers would have battered him.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And all his brothers could fight. They're all dangerous. Even his sisters could fight. Yeah. Rosie.
Were they travellers?
No, they weren't. But they could fight. It was just their upbringing. It was in the blood. But my dad, out of all the brothers, I think he made something of himself, from scratch. He started landscape gardening and doing patios and building walls. And I was remembering the garden. He used to practice and learn in his own garden, and then go and do it in other jobs. But he got better as the years went by, kind of thing. So, yeah.
When did you start doing the graft then, proper bits? When you were selling gear, 16, 17. After you got that speed, what did you do?
Right, okay, yeah. So I went to prison first.
What age?
I was 20 when I went to prison.
What for?
GBH of intent, section 18. 2 GBH of intent, section 18. And demanding money with menaces. See, it was a muggy thing what we'd done, honestly, yeah. But this was kind of my handwriting at the time, not muggy things, but although it was a muggy thing. My MO was masking up like the SAS and doing things, yeah, doing things, and just earning money where I can, collecting money, collecting things and robbing people as well, like drug dealers and people like that at a young age. It's rife these days, yeah. And I know I'm not saying that it was good what we was doing, but it's just I was learning and finding my way along the way. What's the question again?
When you got to prison, what did you get the jail for?
Okay, right. So this was what I was saying to you. The muggy thing was this. A friend of mine had problems with his in-laws, and there was lots of brothers, and him and his wife were going to get evicted from a property that they was renting there, and they got into verbal arguments, and then the brothers were apparently going to do him. So I said, "Oh, we'll fucking do them then. We'll go and get him first." And he said, "Come on in." We got masked up in that traditional SAS style, sitting on the snow outside, and we went and kicked the door down, and things happened that shouldn't have happened, really. And I regret that. I do regret that. But we were wild at the time, and that's where we got our 3 years, because there was a demanding money involved there as well. And yeah, so we got our 3 years, and that's when I went to prison.
What jail?
First prison I went to was Brixton Prison. 3 days. Oh, fucking hell. You imagine that, like, you're 20 years old, you're going to Brixton prison.
Some of the black lads, I know.
Loads, yeah. I mean, I've got black friends, so I can relate to black people. I've got nothing against black people, yeah. But I will admit, when you're among some, you can be intimidated by them, unless you know them. And when you're like 20 years old going to prison, man's prison for the first time, I don't care who you are, you're fucking scared. You don't know what to expect, yeah. But you still got that bowl around you as well, anyhow. But Brixton Prison then, 1988, it was piss pots and shit pots underneath the bed. There was no toilets like they are later on when I was in prison later on in life. But I was there for 3 days, and then I was moved to Swaleside Prison. And I remember coming into Swaleside Prison. It was a brand spanking new prison then. And you get your own cell, your own toilet, your own sink. And my toilet still had its paper on it. Like, like it had never been used. You got all brand new clothes. And I was like, fucking hell, man, this ain't so bad. Yeah, and it wasn't so bad. And my head completely changed. And it was like, I actually liked it. And I sort of looked at it as being like an army camp. And in my head, that's how I got through it. I was like, this is going to be like training in the army. Yeah, and that's how I did. I started, but then things went wrong.
Why?
Drugs. Before I went to Swaleside Prison, before I got arrested, so we're talking 88. So 87, we committed the crime. My friend and his brother-in-law went to prison on remand. I got bail. And while I was out on bail, I went to my old man's villa in Tenerife. And Sergeant Pepper's, I think it was, he went down there. It was a nightclub down there. And it was Callie's. And it was, what was the beat then? Balearic beat. You remember that? When it's Balearic beat and acid and E's were coming out then. And I was like, what's all this about? You know, everyone's friendly. And when I come back to England, I started venturing out with people. And I met this other older guy who was, he was an armed robber, a drug dealer. I'm not going to mention their names. He's actually none of that now. And he's featured in my book. So I'm not going to mention his name because I've coded it in the book as well. But he'd watched me grow up. He's about 6 years older than me, maybe 5, 6 years older than me. He knew me from the manor. He knew that I could fight. He liked having me around him. And he was always out of his nut at that time. And he had planned something in Africa. And which I've got to be careful about what I talk about because nothing happened to us of that. We got through all that, yeah, but it's mentioned in there anyway, yeah. And he said to me, can you drive? Well, I can drive. I've been driving since I was 13. I'd nicked cars and my older friends had taught me how to drive. I said, yeah, of course I can. He said, right, drive me in this car then. So I was like, he's driving now. Like he's a face and I'm in his car. And it's so you can have the car come get me in the morning. It was pucker, it was Saab Turbo, you know, back then was a nice car. And then he'd want to go the field raves. Remember the field raves started coming out? He'd go to field raves and I'd go to the field raves with him. And then I met this girl called Rachel who kissed me and she put an ear in my mouth. And I don't know if you had ears, I don't know if you know anyone has. That first ear is the best ear you'll ever have. You know, and I loved her. I love you, Rachel. But obviously I didn't. I loved him as well. I loved everyone. And it was like, I love this, you know, and it was the acid that started getting into play. But this guy, and he said his name then, this guy, as a dealer as well, would be skinning up joints with heroin in it or coke in it, or whole different things. And you'd pass it around. You don't know what you're on because you're acting out anyway. And then he started saying to me, he started telling me about diamonds from Africa, yeah, which is part of what I can't tell you about. And this is kind of the way I was going with him. And like, I was young, still a little bit screwed up and wet behind the ears, I suppose. And I've done this thing with my brother in magic, which I've called Hayne. And we've gone to prison. And Steve came up to see me when I was in the prison towards the end and started telling me that, because it's a long story, yeah. It's because she starts talking about how I got into God as well. And we ain't got all night to talk about that, yeah. And it is in the book, but the stages of things what happened in the prison, I kind of try and round it off here so we're not going over the top with it. We're not talking too
whatever,
long.
there was no rush.
So when Steve come up to see me in prison, he'd heard that I got into God. He was into God. He was into God, but he was an international drug dealer, diamond dealer, and was formerly an armed robber. But he was into God, okay? Or what do you mean you're into God? You know, what God meant to me then was St. Christopher on a chain that I used to wear around my neck. When I was a scout, Boy Scout, a cub at 5 or 6, there was a church at school assembly, they used to tell you about God and everything. And that's what I kind of knew about God until I really found out about God later on in life. Yeah. But at that point, that's all I really knew. So for me, I was just going for the ride, you know, Steve, yeah, okay, God. And he'd talk about God's got a vision from God. We need to go to Africa. And his vision came true. because he was going to Africa backwards and forwards, and he was smuggling untold heroin and all sorts of shit from there. Yeah, but he was devoutly into God. So when I finally went to prison for that crime, there's a part in my book. It's called God in a Cell, and that's when I was in there for 4 months, I think it was, and I get the letter build up. So I was getting letters all days, every day, and the letters get built up. Sometimes they give him all at once, 7 or 8 letters. I was lucky, I was fortunate to get them, and I read one, and it was my mum, and she was telling me about our dog Russell just died. Oh, and Nanny Clark's died as well, you know. Oh, and your girlfriend, the mother of my child Anthony's, like, got married. It was like everything at once. And I don't think my mum put it in as poison. She was informing me. She'd tell me exactly because she wanted me to know, yeah? And it wasn't read as blatant as that. That was what the letter was about. And then the bell's gone for canteen. I put the letter down. I'm walking down the fucking landing down into the kitchen servery. There's that fucking same queue there. The same fucking watery meat that ain't got nothing in it, just meat colour, yeah? Just like gravy. And then I had my vicar come in my head, you know, that kind of scene, yeah? Smashed the fucking place up, yeah? And I did. I just roared, tipped it all up, and then I just had this rage inside me, and I needed to go somewhere. But you can't go anywhere, you're in prison, yeah? So I just thought, go to my cell. So I started marching to my cell. None of the screws stopped me or anything like that. I got in my cell, obliterated my cell, and banged the door. Banged the door up. No, they banged me up in there, that's it. And all of a sudden there was a tap on the door, and it was Father Joe looking through the door. He said, can I come in, son? Oh, fuck off. You know, let me come in, let me talk to you. And he come in, and he started talking to me about my sentence and about God, and and then he said something to me, and there was something in his eyes that was just so warm, and like, it was like he had a presence, you know, and he looked at me in the eyes. And then the cells, I don't know if you've been in prison, but you might have seen it in films, the bars are quite thick at Swaleside, big white bars like that. And the cells are dimly lit. And when the sun shines through, you get loads of dust clouds in the cell, like little speckle things like that. And when it shines through, you see it every day. So it's not just this magic moment it happened. Every day you'd see that. But at this magic moment, when I'm looking in his eyes, all of a sudden, my remorse was gone. I felt okay. And my face completely changed. And the sun had come out at that time. There was like the rays were coming in. Now, I'm not saying that was God or anything like that. I'm just like being a bit more dramatic about it, yeah, because that's how it felt at the time. God in the cell. And I looked at him, and he said he could see that, and he said, listen, why don't you come down to the church on Sunday? And I thought, yeah. And I suppose I needed something. And I always, as a child, I believed that there has been something there. I've always felt a presence of something there. And later on, as I've written in the book, later on, I found out what that presence was. But I was looking at them days. I was searching still, and I didn't know what it was then. So I went to the churches, and within a couple of weeks, he got me moved to Stamford Hill, open prison. But my head weren't right. Something weren't right about my head. No, don't forget, before I went to prison, I was taking acid and ecstasy and everything else. Yeah. So there will be a backlash there somewhere. And I think when you take LSD and things like that, you open up the portals to the spirit world as well. Yeah. Which is something I found out later on as well. So this guy came up to see me because he had heard that I found God. And he said, Paul, he said, I hear you found God. It's really good news. He said, you're getting out soon. He said, and I've been coming backwards and forwards for Africa, and I want you to come out with me. He kind of sold it to me. Yeah, all right, I'm up for it, kind of thing, yeah. I've left a bottle of whiskey by the lamppost outside the gate. Get someone to come out and get it tomorrow on the work parties, because open prison, they can do that. I went, yeah, cool. And here's a gram of heroin. He said, don't take it yourself. Give it. Sell it, get yourself from canteen. He said, careful, it's really high grade. I was going, all right, cheers, Steve. Because in an open prison, you can nuts it quite easy, whereas in the other ones, you can't so easy, yeah? And then I've got back to the cell, and it was my birthday as well. I remember it was my birthday. I was 21 in fucking prison, 21. That's bollocks, isn't it? Yeah. And then I was really depressed. I thought, I'm going to go and get that fucking whiskey myself. So in the prison, you have to blue caps, and they got like a hairnet in the back of them so they wear them on their service as well. So that went round like that, and over there I had my blue, like a jumpsuit, I suppose, overalls from the work parties, and their work boots and gloves. Well, this is my old style, my handwriting. So I've gone out there, crept out, got the whiskey, but while I was out there, someone else had gone out and been seen going out. So when someone goes out to get a parcel, which is the norm, the alarms go off and all the doors are shut. Yeah, they do a roll call and see who's not else is in there. Well, I weren't there, obviously. So they're now coming out to look for me, and they're plotted up behind the trees, and I've broke out the prison to get a bottle of fucking whiskey. How muggy is that, yeah? To come back into the prison. And I'm thinking in my mind, I got puff in there, and I kept thinking that heroin's in there as well. No, I don't take heroin. Yeah, I did try it once, weren't for me. But at that point, I might have took it and either overdosed or become a heroin addict, because I'm an addictive personality. Anyway, Stockton, stay there. They caught me, took me down the block for 2 or 3 days. Over the weekend it was, yeah. And I was sent straight back to Swaleside. And then I went, fuck God. That's, he ain't real, blah, blah, blah. And I need to go back on that, because my brother in Magic, who's in there, when he was on remand, he used to do the Ouija board. Okay. And it worked for him in the prison. And he used to get messages about people would go into and say, ask the board if I'm going to get off of my court case tomorrow and things like that. And he'd get, most of the time, they was right. You're going to get off. No, you come down, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And he used to do cards. And he was telling me about it briefly. When we was in the cells before we got sentenced, he said, I've spoke to the cards. We're going to be all right. They fucking lied straight away, yeah? I went, what do you mean? Cards. And he told me about it. I didn't really understand that stuff then. And then that's when I had to St. Christopher around my neck. And when we come down, and we really believed that we was going to get off of that, yeah? And the judge went 3 years, 4 years, and 8 months to a young one. Take them down. So the chain come off, and I threw it to my dad. That was fuck off God then, because I thought that was God. If you're not helping us, bomb, yeah? And it came round again when I was just telling you about the prison, when I got caught there. I thought, well, God's got me out of there. Why not lead me into temptation, deliver me from evil, as the saying goes, yeah? I've got this all wrong now. I understand it, but then I didn't understand it. But that's how I was thinking. So I go back to the prison, and I thought, but I felt something in that cell. And then I started believing to myself, that was my nan coming in to see me or something, because something definitely happened. There's something spiritual went on in that cell. So I started studying, going to the library and getting books on folklore and things like that. Witchcraft, and went down that kind of road. Spirituality, invocations, astral projection, etc., etc. And 21 years old, I mean, you want a woman. Have you read that bit yet?
Yeah.
That's why you're smiling, isn't it?
Yeah, that's funny.
I don't know if I should talk about it. Should I talk about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So as a 21-year-old, and growing up as a teenager, loads of girlfriends. I'm a very young man. I needed sex, wanted sex. So I've concocted something in my head at that point. What if I invoke a spirit, female spirit, to come into my cell and have sex? Now, when I say invoke it, I'm talking, I'd studied this, all the banishing rituals of the pentagram, the lesser banishing ritual. I've done all this in writing. So the process is you draw it all out on paper first, exactly what you're going to do. And then you're rehearsing the ritual as you're drawing it out again and again, kind of thing, yeah? And then you do it in your astral body. You project it. This is how it was interpreted to me at the time. I know it different now. It's like there's much easier ways to do it. But you invoke a certain name, which was a female spirit, to come in of lust and sex, to come in and have sex with me in the cell. Okay. Now, I'm not saying it happened. Okay. All I'm saying to you is that that dream, that night, I dreamed that I was surrounded by 3 women with different coloured hair, and they were touching me all over. I'm just conscious my cousin's here now. I don't want to like, she's going to think, you perv, Paul. I didn't know it was like that. Yes, she did. We had, it was like the best sex I've ever had kind of thing. And there was like orgasm now and ejaculation, orgasm now. And it lasted forever. And then I woke up. And the first thing, all us men, to be honest, whenever we've had a wet dream, you know, if you still get them, when you was younger, the first thing you do when you wake up, you have to feel if it was real. Yeah. And it was, you know, and I was still hard. And then I kind of woke up. So the invocation was about bringing female spirits into my cell. There wasn't anything physical happening, but in the spiritual realm, it's not always in the physical realm. So a lot of it's done in the aether, in the mind, as astral projection is in the mind as well. So I think something happened. And it was from that moment on, I found that I had some kind of quintessential ability to make things happen. Like we'd play Lido, and backgammon in the prison. You play backgammon. When you've been there for long enough, backgammon gets boring. So same as chess does. So you bring in Monopoly and Lido, and you've got dice games. And the dice balls, you get everyone going 3 or 6. They're trying to get the right number. Then I started calling the dice, and they'd always be landing. In the end, people would stop playing me because they thought I was cheating. So I found some sort of ability to will things, to make things happen. And the important part of this is later on in life, when I really got into magic, this was just the iceberg, tip of the iceberg of what there really was there kind of thing. But it was all growing from this prison sentence. And then I remember walking down the landing, and then I was like 21, cocky, brave, didn't care about anything. And you got the flaps on the doors, and my resume was bang the door into the speedball. And I'd bang it really fast and really loud, and I'd go, "Governor, open my fucking door. Will you say Stockton? Can you open the door, please, Gov?" Like cheeky, but like getting away with murder sort of thing. Just a young man. And but I was liked, I suppose, by a lot of people now then. I come walking down the corridor, and all the boys was in the corner, right outside my cell, and this strange feeling come around me. I was like, the light went funny, and it was like I couldn't look there for some reason, and I was having a panic attack, and I didn't know what panic attack was. And panic attacks in 1980 wasn't as common as what they are today, by the way. Yeah, or I don't think they were. And I remember walking down the cell, and now I've got all my mates outside my cell, and I'm paranoid as fuck, and my mind's racing. I don't know if you've had a panic attack. I don't know. Whoever's had a panic attack will understand exactly what I'm saying now. And this is in prison, remember? And I've got to get in my cell, and I go, "All right, Paul, I've got to go in the cell." I slammed myself in. I went straight to the mirror. You got like these little square 6-inch by 4-inch. It's not glass. It's like I don't know what you call it, aluminium kind of mirrors in them days, yeah. And I'm looking at trying to find something wrong with me, and I'm having a massive panic attack. And I didn't know what it was, but what that done for me, it made me go to the library again and start learning what's going on with me. And I remember having now I used to see things when I was younger, like deja vu it was. I would see something, and then a day later it'd happen. And this is when I think I first started having the gift that I got, second sight. And in the prison, I think it was becoming more and more, getting stronger, more and more apparent. So I needed to channel that somehow and find out what it was. And going to the library and reading books on folklore and Jung and Sigmund Freud and things like that about psychology started educating me about things. And I started getting a grip of this panic attack, but it was becoming more and more constant, but I was getting a grip of it. So being to hide it from people. Now, you imagine what you're going through in prison, feeling like that. You're confident. I was confident. I'm more confident now than I've ever been in my whole life. But I had shit to come, yeah? But at this point, I was a right cocky, confident lad. And for that to all of a sudden come on me, you can imagine how my confidence went like that. And you got to keep face as a youngster, or in prison you got to keep face, otherwise people will walk over you. And I kind of maintained it, and before I know it, I'm out of prison. And I met this guy who was taking me to Africa, and I knew by the time I come out to prison, I knew what I wanted to do with my life. I knew exactly what I was going to be when I got out of prison.
What?
A drug dealer. That was it. I just thought, I'm going to sell drugs and earn loads of money. And I did.
Were you still tapping into the magic?
Right, okay.
Did you watch,
no.
Were you reading Aleister Crowley or anything?
Yeah, well, this is what I'll get and get. You want me to tell that whole story?
Yeah.
I'll do that, okay.
Yeah.
So what happened is then, my co-defendant got 4 years. He came out shortly after me. So before he come out, I'm with this other guy, and I'm doing all sorts of shit before him. He was like Moody Notes, everything. I hadn't gone to Africa yet. Moody Notes, earning money where he came. He was cashing checks from Nigeria through banks and things, and I was finding people that were gonna do this so we could all earn out of it, kind of thing. Doing stuff that I didn't know what I was doing. I was just following his lead because he knew what he was doing, and all I knew that was earning loads of money as a result of it. And then when my co-defendant came out of prison, I enlisted him as one of my gang. And then my other mate, Joey, and then Keith and Ricky, and they all come together in annex. And they was all coming, working with me, for me, but we were working for him. Everything he had would come feeding through me, and I'd feed it through them, and we'd earn good money. And then it was my turn to go to Africa with him. And so I can't really talk about Africa. I can tell you bits, I suppose. Panic attacks were still going on. We're taking loads of money over there that we'd got investors to buy diamonds.
You're still taking panic attacks over there?
I was having panic attacks still, but I'd had them under control.
Did you still with magic in Africa? Because that's where it stems from.
Well, I'm gonna the Obi-Wanga. I'm gonna move on to something like that in a minute. But when I went out to Africa, I lost my passport from Heathrow. I think, was it Madrid? Heathrow transit, or I think it was Madrid. Heathrow, Madrid, Nigeria. And I lost my passport on transit from Heathrow to Madrid. I'm sure it was Madrid we went to, yeah? And we got there and I can't find my passport. So he's gone to me, all right, go in the toilet, give us all the money, because we're on the next flights to Nigeria, we're safe now. Go back, when your passport comes, go back to England, get some more money and meet me out there in Nigeria, Lagos. So yeah, no problem. So when we used to talk about it, I used to say to him, like, can we go on a safari when we're out there? And he'd go, yeah, Paul, lions, tigers and bears. He's like humouring me. I'm thinking there's a safari. I don't think you've ever been to Nigeria. No. There's no fucking lion, tigers and bears there. There's 3 massive stadiums out there, sports stadiums, open air sewers, and the stinking poor and the filthy rich. There is no middle divide, although I've heard it's changed now. It's a lot different than what it was in them days. Well, I've gone out there like Safari Sam, yeah, which also made me look like a military guy. Our flight originally was postponed 2 weeks before we went out there because they tried to overthrow the president there. And there was unrest and all the white people were leaving the country, not coming to the country. So here I am turning up at Lagos airport to meet these guys, my friend and his colleagues, dressed like Safari for Sam, with loads of money around me. And there's a coup going on. In fact, while we was out there, they executed 100 and something prisoners out there, and it was unrest everywhere. There was curfews. So I was 21, so 22 nearly probably then. I could have been a young soldier. I could have been a mercenary, anything like that. As I'm walking through the barriers, this big black Nigerian woman wasn't letting me go through. She kept scrutinising me with her eyes. And that's when I started having a panic attack, and I'm sweating and I'm thinking, fucking, I've got all this money wrapped around me. If they don't let me through, I'm fucked, basically. But what I didn't realise and didn't know is that if you're white, in their eyes, you're millionaire. And what you're doing in this country, you must be rich. Nigeria is the most corrupt country, one of the most corrupt countries in the world, or it was then, one of the biggest black markets in the world. So she wanted money just to let me. If I'd have gone, you know, I don't know, I can't remember what the currency is now. Give her some Nigerian currency. She would have just let me through. But a sergeant overlooking her, another one or someone more higher than her overlooking her, said something in Nigerian and like let me go through. So she let me go through. So when I get there, I meant to speak to a guy called Tunde. Paul, Tunde will meet you. Give him £20. Yeah, that's a lot of money for them, especially in them days. When I'm coming through, I haven't got no £20. I've got 50s. So I've gone to Tunde. Tunde, are you Tunde? And he went, yes, say Tunde. Yeah, because he was the only one that looked different from the others. He had a white shirt on. Everyone else had yellow shirts because that's where they're working in the airport. Yes, I Tunde. Ah, thank fuck for that. Is so-and-so there? Yes, he coming soon. I went, good. You got to take me there? He went, yes, come. So he's taking me out the thing. I said, Tunde, I've got to give you £20. But I've only got 50. And don't worry, I get change. Yeah, you know what's coming, don't you? Yeah. He took the money and fucked off. And then there's no Tunde. Now I'm outside the airport with all this money strapped to me. And my friend, I've still not seen him. And I'm going up to people and saying to them, Tunde, have you seen Tunde? Well, Tunde's like Paul and John, and it's a common name out there. Yeah, I Tunde. Yeah, I Tunde. Give me fucking 50 quid, probably. Yeah. But then the guy I was meant to meet there turned up anyway. Now, when we was out there, part of the journey out there was we were like part of our cloak and dagger, if you like, was to colouring pens and books for orphanages, and we'd go to some orphanages and we'd have little parties, and you know that was nice, you know. And then in between we'd meet some of the hierarchies out there who were rich government officials and things like that. So I need to be careful what I say here, because I'll say it and then you can edit how you think, yeah. But the people we meet were high up air commandant of the Nigerian air base. Now I don't think we can put that in, because that can because they work out dates and they work out the times when the president was overthrown. The air commandant of the Nigerian air base was one of the top people that we were working with. So we were safe out there. And we'd go and see prophetesses and things like that, religious women, and they would pray over us and tell us we'd have safe journeys and things like that. So this is the kind, now look at the conundrum here, yeah? You're into God as a massive, you're all of it, the organisation are seemingly into God, but the organisation is dealing in heroin and diamonds. You know, so that's the contradiction, isn't it, kind of thing. So it's fucked up. But I found later on in life, and I've got written another 2 books, and they're really powerful, but this is controversial. I'm going to come away from that because it's going to take me away from this story, yeah? But it really stems about that kind of thing, government corruption and shit like that, and religious corruption. But with this guy out in Africa, some mad things happened. I'm not going to tell you the whole story because it's in the book, and I'm waffling on about that, yeah? And there's lots of other stuff to talk about then. Get back from Africa. My brother in magic, Euhane, who was my co-defendant, it's his turn to go to Africa. And he said to me, I can't go. You tell me about they're into God and everything. If I go there, they know what I'm into. And I'll say, what are you into? He went, the devil. In their eyes, it'd be the devil. What are you fucking talking about? You know, it's me telling him about God and not accepting that there's a devil as well, kind of thing. You know? He said, when I was in prison, I told you about the Ouija board, yeah, a spirit called Nip. I said, let's get Nip on the table then. Let's get a Ouija. So we made a Ouija board, and we made it out. We got like an old white cabinet like that. Got a circle with a big compass. We made a big compass, and now with a string, and drew the line, made the circle, and put a thick band, a second band around it, put the alphabet around the top, and then a yes or no there. That's how it started, just like that. And then we got a glass, like that. And it went, is Nip there? Well, nothing happened, did it? Yeah. Try it again, nothing happened. And then we had another friend come round called Scotty, and another good friend of mine, Ernie. We started doing it more and more. And then one day, it moved. It answered to what we were saying. So who's doing that? You're doing it, and you know, no, I fucking ain't. I swear I ain't. Well, you're doing it. No. So we'd all swap around, and it was still working, but it'd work more so when I'm doing it. You're doing it, Paul. I fucking out. I swear I weren't either. Yeah. So what I worked out, what we worked out, when you do Ouija board, you do move, but it's not you moving it. It's the link, the psychic link between you and the spirit that makes your arm go out. And when you feel your hand move, you need to go with it. So if you look at the letters and things, and you're going to push it to that, you feel that. Like if we three of us hold the glass like that, and one of us push it, you will feel me push it to there. But when you're all linked together and it's like you're just flowing with it, you don't feel a tug or a push or a stop. It just goes smoothly like that. And then it started spelling out things. And then obviously, when you go on a Ouija board, you're going to ask it every fucking silly question you can ever think of. Am I going to shag some bird tonight? Yeah. Yeah. Am I going to get lots of money? You know, is so-and-so something? Like we'd laugh and joke, but our fingers are on that glass all the time. We'd have wine, we'll have weed, we'll have a bit of speed then, a couple of nights of speed. So we're really in it, that kind of thing, yeah. And like this spirit called Nip would engage with us like I'm talking to you, yeah. Now he's in on the conversation. And it got to the point after a few weeks of doing this, and it's like nearly every night, it was something, it was a laugh. We enjoyed it. This Nip was really funny, yeah. It would like, after a few weeks, we'd run out of silly questions. And that's when the real thing started to happen. And all of a sudden the ball would move on its own. It would say move to you, Hayne. We'd look at him, what are you thinking? Because what happened is when it moved to you, it was one of us were thinking something. And we'd say, what are you thinking about? So now share it with us kind of thing, yeah? And if you didn't, it'd go like that. So whatever you're thinking, you're going to share. So it's unifying us all together, and we're thinking about this and thinking about that. And then one day it spelled out about this guy from Africa. Remember, he was into God, apparently. And what he was doing, what we was involved working for him was quite high stuff. He was a dangerous man, as well. He still is a dangerous man. But the ball's now saying that he's going to dupe us. He's going to rob us. So he spelled out his name, yeah? And don't trust. Keep spelling out, don't trust. And then why? We wanted an explanation. And this is all in the book. So look, long story short, the board set up a conspiracy that this guy was going to rob us and was going to kill us. You know? So Ernie and my travelling friend who was there, dangerous man, if I can get crossbow straight through the head, he was always already plotting how we was going to counteract this. And I think, hold on, it's my mate. Yeah, it's my mate, you know, and I don't really trust this ball telling me what it's telling me. But it created such a powerful story that this guy was coming to us and he's going to do what he's going to do, that we need to kill him. So is that it? We're going to kill him then. When he comes here, we're going to kill him. Yeah, it's what we've got to do. And everyone's like, I don't know if we would have done. I fucking didn't want to. He's my mate. You know what I mean? He might kill us either. You know, he's no fool. But he's saying when he comes, he's going to come with a gun. So get ready. So get on the board again. I want to ask one more time. As soon as he comes here, we got to fucking kill him. No. What do you mean no? No. Why are you fucking telling us to do this? Blah, blah, blah. They spell out, lose a friend, gain power. Lose a friend, gain power. Yeah. And we're looking around and Ernie went, oh, fuck this, mate. He said, you know, that's dangerous shit. I ain't enough to do it here no more. I don't have nothing to do with that anymore. And then we kind of, sorry, I've gone too ahead of myself. I had to arrive first. Yeah. So, lose a friend, gain power was when the conversation we had after. You're gonna have to re-edit that out, yeah. So the ball's telling us we're gonna got to kill this guy. He's on his way there. I've asked before he's coming there, we're gonna kill it. He's gone no, and all of a sudden he turns up. So now what we're gonna do? He comes into the room and I've got to tell him why he's here. We got you here because the ball's told us that you're gonna kill us, Steve. You know, it's not something not sane really, is it? This ball's telling us that you're going to kill us. What are you fucking talking about? I've said his name again, and I you know, read it there and all. He said, I said to him, the ball said that you're going to kill us. What the fuck are you talking about, ball? You're off your head. I said, no. And then my mate, brother in magic, is turned around and said, come on the board then. He went, all right, I'm fucking going on the board. He's got on the board. So my friend and him have gone on the board. And my friend's gone, just ask a question. Don't have to be out loud. Say it in your mind. And the board will answer. And he's asked the board a few questions and it's moving. Like really quick. Like that, yeah. And his face went white. And he went like that. He went, Paul, we part here, mate. You're going to go off your head, son. Like that. This is fucking bad, mate. Don't want nothing to do with you no more. So, and that's it. And he walked away. He said we was going to go over our heads. And a couple of weeks later, he got nicked with heroin and he went to prison for 5 years. And he was in a mental ward out there. He's all right now. I met him later on in life. We're all right.
So he lost the plot?
He lost the plot. I don't know the full story. I heard that he had to go into psychiatric bit. He could have been pulling his ticket. I don't know. Working his ticket. I don't know. But from that moment on, Ernie, then that's when we bring in the other stuff, what I said previously. We're questioning the bulb. Why the fuck did you say that? You know, we could have fucking done this. And Ernie said, I ain't doing this no more. And then it spelt out, lose a friend, gain power. And that's quite powerful because if you think about it, it could have had us killing that man. We believed it because for weeks and weeks we'd been talking to it and truths were being showed. But it's also a lot of people will be going, yeah, that's the devil, blah, blah, blah. And it might have been, I don't know, but I don't think it was. And
who do you think it was?
I'll get to that. Okay. Yeah. So this, remember, everyone has a destiny. Yeah. And you have to go through roads to open doors to understand that wisdom that you're learning. Yeah. So, in a nutshell, no, because I'm going to talk about my belief system from this other book, and I don't want to do that yet, okay? So at this point, I don't know what it was. Is it the devil? Could well be. I mean, anyone with any common sense at that time would be, don't play with that shit, same as what my friend did when he left. But Ernie said, I ain't have nothing more to do with that. And he left, and Scotty kind of backed away as well. And my brother in magic, known as you ain't in the magic, we had been together as landscape gardeners, boxers together, women together, fighting on streets together, and we'd done prison together. Now we were going to get involved in the Ouija board together. And when we said lose a friend, gain power, we thought, yeah, that's us. We'll have a bit of that. So the whole monopoly changed on the game. Everything changed. He started educating us about spiritualism, telling us to get books from bookshops. Study started with numerology. I don't know if you know about numerology. Yeah. Okay. Gametia, Temuria, transposition of alphabets.
What are they books though? I've never heard of them.
No, they're not books. They're a form of numerology. They're a higher form of numerology. So numerology
signs 13, 13, 2, 2, 2, 2.
Yeah.
Telling you signs from the universe.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Kind of. But numerology is more like I write your name down and extract the valuation of each letter and come up with a final valuation. And that number will have a meaning behind it, yeah? And it's like interlocking it. This is the transposition of alphabets, Albath, Gumicha, and Tamura. Through this and a book called The 777, which is Aleister Crowley, you can find out the nature of specific things. It's all part of learning on the path what we was learning on, which was in the early days, witchcraft, learn all about that, numerology, with the Gematria and the Temuria, divination, and then it go on to, later on in life, it went on to like a Kabbalah tree of life, higher depths of, higher forms of divination on the tree of life. I studied that for years.
What's that?
The tree of life. It's the Holy Kabbalah tree of life. It's a hieroglyphic map of the universe, if you like, in short. But contained in that is most of the schools of thought and knowledge. It's like you got the I King can be put in it, all the tarot cards. So in a nutshell, the tree of life, you got 10 Sephiroth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. You have 4 worlds. One represent fire, water, air, and earth, which is the 4 elements. And then you have a 5 quintessential one, which is spirit. That's a deeper version of the Holy Kabbalah. All them cards, tarot cards, all the ones are contained in there, the 4, so which is why you got 4 worlds. One world, which is fire, would be all the wands or the buttons. Yeah. The other world would be water, which is all the hearts. The other world will be spades, which is all the, which is air. And the other one, which is diamonds, which is earth. So they're the 4 elements. So these 4 worlds interact, something like Jake and saying, very complicated, yeah. But in a nutshell, all the ones, ace of diamonds belong in that world, ace of spades in that world, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10s. And then you got into a double meaning, which is the all the queens, and the 2, chokma, all the kings, and the 6s, all the princes. You know, remember you got in pack of cards, you've got a normal pack of cards, you've got jokers. Mm-hmm. They're there because they are the 2 cards that have been taken out, which is the prince and the princess. So they have double meanings as well. So in 6 Tipper F, you've got all the princesses. In 10 Malkuth, you've got all the princes. And there's so much, so deep about that. But just to let you know, I know what I'm talking about this, yeah? So the Kabbalah is the hieroglyphic map of the universe. So all the cards are there. Now the trump cards, like, you know, the chariot, the lovers, the devil, you know, them kind of cards, are the 22 paths that interlock with the Sephiros. So the hieroglyphic map of the universe is also a map of your life. So when you get a tarot reading, whatever path you're going down right now, this tree of life will, you can guide yourself deeper than a normal tarot card reading, yeah, because you can see the map there and work out the blind intelligences. And below the 6 Sephiroth, you've got the Cliff-Off, which is the demonic realms, the negative and blind forces of nature. You know, when people walk down the road and they get these mad feelings and mad thoughts, yeah, that's blind intelligences, or something known as the Demurge. And the Archons, you ever heard of Archons of Demise? Anyway, more of that's been in my second book, because at that point in this book, I hadn't really discovered much about that, although I lived through it, kind of thing. And it was like, you had to learn about what you've gone through. So the Tree of Life, that's how that is interpreted. That's to do with your tarot cards. Tarot cards was like a phone call to a divine power, you know. When I started going up the ladder through selling drugs and crime, I'd have my cards. Is it safe to work with this guy? Yeah. I could get yes or no answers from the cards. So much so that my friends who I was working with knew about this, and they would ring me and they'd go, Paul, ask your cards if it's so-and-so, so-and-so, right? Yeah, hold on. No. They sort of said no. Okay, and they wouldn't do it on the strength of that. What I would tell them, they would go by that. That's how much they trusted it and believed in it. And so did I. And then my empire started to grow. And I thought, what else do I want to do? Oh, I want to run my own doors. So I'd compose my will and wait for it to happen. And within days, something would happen. And what happened is a friend of mine, asked him if he knows anyone who can come and work for someone on the club door. And my mate went, well, you want to do it? I went, yeah, tell him I'll do it. So I'm turned up on this door now. Now I'm working on the door, yeah, but I ain't took it over and I think I want to run doors. But I have to start from the scratch, don't I? Within a year of working on this door, I've set my record, got my reputation, you know, and the old team fell out with the management and was jacking the door. And I said, well, I want to stay here, man. You do what you fucking want. Yeah, I went, yeah. And the management said to me, do you want to run it then? I went, yeah. I got my own team in. My pals I've grown up with, people I trusted who could have it, you know. They ain't gonna like leave you on your own. And all of a sudden, the club's scene started maturing. I started getting more doors, more men working with me, and my empire's building more and more. My reputation growing. I thought some of the people I'm working with around the country are like you've spoke to lots of them on your podcasts. I can't mention their names, but I was working with them, and they were giving me parcels that were quite big, and I was getting my people to do it, but I couldn't have that near me in the clubs because, you know, I couldn't link it to me in the clubs. So I was so strict about drugs in the club. I wouldn't let anyone. And Wendy, who was the manageress of the club, liked the fact that I wouldn't let drugs in the club. But really, I wouldn't let them in the club because I didn't want to be linked to it, kind of thing. Yeah, because I was too high up with other people. Yeah, but and my friends around me, kind of thing. Yeah. And them days were good. My cousin Jackie used to come down here and love it down there. Didn't you, Jack? Yeah. And it was good. And I'd be in the corner giving palm readings to women, and my brother in magic would be the other corner giving palm readings to them. And it was just, what I'm trying to, I suppose what am I trying to say? Okay. You said to me earlier on about Aleister Crowley. Did I get into Aleister Crowley? Yeah, Aleister Crowley was one of the first books that this spirit Nip was telling us to get books on, and the Law of Thelma, composing the will, and it's very synonymous to where the last 5 years or so, everyone's talking about manifestation. Manifest it, just manifest it. You know, I don't know. I don't know how real that is, and how close it is to what we was doing back in 1990. We first started doing it. And later on in life, I found out how much more powerful it is and how much people around the world have been doing it, like the hierarchies that control this world do it, you know, and in a different sense. But that's another story.
The cabal?
Yeah, all sorts of people, all different, not just them, all sorts of people. But I'm losing track of what I was saying now because it's very deep. Crowley, okay. So a lot of his work that we studied was to do with the Law of Thelma. And yeah, right, okay, got my thoughts together now. So composing your will is like every thought you have, you've got to control or you slip. And magic is the science and art of causing change to occur by will. Yeah. So you create the image in your mind and you manifest it by different means. Whatever you want to do in life, you kind of manifest by your thinking. So if you're negative, you bring negativity to yourself and negative things happen. But obviously I'm learning back then, I don't know about this stuff, you know. Basically, the magic was very intense. And we were now building we was reputation as street fighters, boxers, you know, and now we're into magic.
I would be more terrified of that. Like if going for a scrap or people fighting bare knuckle, bouncer, you think, yeah, he's capable. But if somebody starts whipping out cards and talking about black magic, that could scare the shit out of people.
Well, this is exactly what I'm saying to you. Yeah. So we now got reputation as like, we would say the devil worshippers or witchcraft. We didn't care. I mean, in the early days, we've done a few things that I regret, like desecrating churches to rule God out of our life. But like I know now, later on in life, the reason why that had all happened, and it wasn't what we was thinking at the time. There wasn't this massive divide that everyone thinks was between God and the devil. That ain't real. Yeah. But at the time, we didn't know that. Yeah. So we're following. And I lost track again. We was talking about power and influence. And some of the people that I was working with, they're not mugs. You know, they're quite serious guys. Some of them have made their money and don't do it no more. Others have gone to prison and getting nowhere. And there's the ones that got out of it with all their money, yeah? And I can't mention their names for obvious reasons, but them type people I was working with, and they trusted and recognized the power. And we found that we could also hex people, curse people, and make things happen to them. Bad things happen as well as good things. And obviously we was exploring what we had in front of us. And that created an atmosphere around certain people. Certain people would be wide birthing us, kind of it. We didn't give a fuck. We was that's my spirit. No,
that's not nip, is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's fucking
yeah. It's telling me not to. No, I got that, yeah. Well, tell him now. Nah, leave us. But
leave me fucking out. Leave me. I'm a good guy.
Is he a good guy? One tap of his. That's loads of taps. But so we was building momentum, and the money was coming in and the more. So we was what was that club we used to go to, Jack? Berwick Manor. We go Berwick Manor, and there'd be an entourage of 30 people, and my empire started growing from there. I would supply all the sweets. Everyone would go out on the club, blah, 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 and I'd be dancing on the dance floor. It's a hardcore. We'd go to, after Berwick Manor, we'd go to Breakfast Club next to the Astoria in London. And I'd go there with a big bum pouch flat, nothing in it. And I'd leave there that night out here, like I was pregnant, with so much money, where people kept giving me money. And it sort of started there, and I went into bigger and bigger. But the acid scene was still happening, was still getting into that. Drugs were still getting involved again. That was before I went to working on the club door. So I'm building momentum. I'm starting my empire, earning money. Then I decided I want to run doors. I want a nightclub. I want to run doors. And then I went into the clubs, blah, blah, blah. And then debt collecting to getting bigger and bigger. And then creating an influence. Don't fuck with us, you know? And people didn't want to fuck with us anyway, because we could fight. We're not mugs, you know? We're not scared. Everyone around me I know can have it. And the ones that knew about the magic didn't want to, you know, I could tell you a few things what have happened. It's not very nice.
Yeah.
But so I'm not going to, because that's going to paint the wrong picture. That was me then. And then it comes to a point where luxury, abundance, debauchery comes into play. And you don't get high on your own supply, but some people do, and I did. I was an addict at the end of the day. So I had all my door team. I used to make them come and meet me around my house. And in them days, we were Dickie Bows, and a couple of them were dealers as well. So they had money, nice bit of time on them and that. Come around my house first. We'd go from my house. So they'd be pulling up their Porsches and Mercedes or whatever. All come in. All right, everyone's got to do a line before we go. So I'd rack up lines. Just have a fucking line, you know, because I didn't want to be the only one out my nut and cocaine while we're going to work. So we'd all turn up at the club with eyes like that, wired. But, you know, that was our enjoyment while we were working on the door. And this influence thing I was talking about earlier on, about making things happen from your mind, I could sense when there was going to be something kicking off. You know, and I'd look over it straight away. Then I'd see an argument. I'd be straight over there and grab them and throw them out with it, and there wouldn't be any problems. And the manager loved that. That club, the Frontier Post, Bexley Heath. Yeah. When I was working for the other guys there, every fucking week it was kicking off all the time. Now that door team I worked for was an old school type door team, and they used to batter you. You know, they used to love it. They used to love fighting, and you'd get all different areas. Like Bexley Heath is right in the centre of trouble, really. You got Abbey Wood, Woolwich Army Barracks, all the areas around there. It's a nice little club for them to come to. So there was always going to be a kick-off there. Anyway, but then all of a sudden, I decided to implement peace. And this was my will. And this is what I wanted. I wanted to keep it nice. And all my door team were my friends. And I told them to respect the people. Don't keep chatting up someone's bird. You know, they want to be able to safely bring their bird. They make them feel safe. And this is how we were, kind of thing. And the fight stopped. And there was locals there. I had a friend called Matt. He had his own little gang. He was like well respected in the area. I was pals with him. And he'd keep his boys under control. Everything was sweet. And then sometimes I'd feel rowdy. Yeah, I think I fucking feel like a row tonight. And because I thought that, and I didn't at the time, don't know this. It's only in reflection later on I've realised this from what I know now about how powerful the mind is. I felt a bit rowdy and I wanted to fight. There'd be a fucking fight, you know, within minutes, me feeling like that. Or was it something warning me that there's going to be a fight and prepping for it? I don't know. But that's how it kind of went. So when the debauchery come into play, you work up a club Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and a Sunday sometimes. You're in the club every fucking night. Your girlfriend back home, you're hardly seeing her, kind of thing, yeah? And that's when, you know, mistakes happen. You make mistakes. And I did. I made a massive mistake. There was a woman that started working at the club, a pretty woman. She reminded me of Catherine Zeta-Jones, a younger version. I'm not going to go into it too much because it's not nice for my ex and it's not nice for her for me to talk about it. But I kind of had a fling with her. She got pregnant. The woman I'm with now, I've had a kid with already, just had another one. And what am I fucking doing? You know, what am I doing? That's debauchery. Too much money, too much drug, and no sense. And that's when the turning point happened. Okay, this is when something dramatic happened in my life. By doing that, I'd ruined my fucking life because I was happy with my kid's mother and my kids. And this other woman, although as nice she weren't for me. I didn't want to be with her. So when she told me she was pregnant, I was like, you know, oh, you can't. You can't. But I can. No, you fucking can't. Yeah, I'm going to, and you can be with me or not. And I said, well, I'm not going to be with you, right? I've only known you like 3 weeks. Fuck's sake. You know what I mean? And I actually love my girl. I was with her. I know that sounds hypocritical, but like, we all make mistakes, you know. And I learned from my lessons because, as a result of it, the following happened. And guilt. You know, one of the things we was taught in magic in the early days is guilt isn't a human emotion created by humans. But guilt is so destructive. If you let it get into your head, it will destroy you. And that's what happened to me. So, in a nutshell, because it's in the book and it does go on, I started going down a different path, which is darker than the pure stuff that I was in initially, or thought I was in, or the pure stuff that I'm in now, let's say, yeah? And through my guilt, I could consume more cocaine. Well, I was boxing then. I was always boxed, trained all my life. I'd come out of prison the first time. This is other stories that are in the book, yeah? But I'd fought. I was always doing unlicensed fighting. Always kept myself fit. So I could get cocaine. I could have cocaine 2 or 3 nights, Thursday, Friday and Saturday, and then not have none Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you know? And be in the gym Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and be fit again and undo the bad that I've just done. I wasn't a real drinker and I'd smoke now and then, back then. But all of a sudden, the guilt, I'd find myself doing more and more lines. This girl is having a baby. I've just had another baby with the woman I loved at the time, who's got my daughter with. What do I tell her? I've got to tell her. And my friend was saying, don't tell her. Oh, I've got to fucking tell her. She's going to find out soon. No, Shane, just don't tell her. And I'm now listening to other people, and it's something you should never do. You should listen to yourself, kind of thing, yeah? So, cut long story short, I get guilty, more and more guilty about what's going on, taking more and more cocaine. I had a motorbike then. I was fighting for the Southern Area title on Alan Mortlock's show against Mad Dog Brian McHugh. You might know him.
Scottish?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I fought him. We fought for the Southern Area, and then I was gonna fight Stephen Roach for the British super middleweight title, IBA. 2-fight deal. But this was discussed probably before the Christmas of 2002, and I fought Brian McHugh in February, and I was meant to fight Steve Roach. I think it was April, something like that, yeah. I was meant to beat Brian. It would have been a good fight, but I was going to beat him. But my mind weren't right, mate. I'd go like, since that Christmas, I was taking cocaine after cocaine after cocaine. So when I went in, I weren't really in the fight. Although it was a good fight, he cut my eye in the first round. They made it a draw. But I should have won that fight if I was, you know, it happened the way it happened, blah, blah, blah. And then I thought, was meant to fight Stephen Roach in the April. I think it was the April. Let's try and get the dates right. Anyway, it don't matter. But the motorbike that I bought from my mate Keith was a 1200 Bandit race tuned. I used to fly around like a lunatic on it, backwards and forwards, and go and see the woman of my child, because the baby was born then. and I'd give her money every week and get the baby everything I could, and I just couldn't let go. That's my baby. Because you need to understand that my first child, Anthony, when I went to prison the first time, when I was 21, she got married while I was in prison, and I never got to see my son again till 8 or 10 years. Yeah. My second son, when I came out of prison, I met a girl and we had a child together, and he died of cot death when he was 8 months old. And then I had my daughter Jade with Sam, and eventually had my son Alfie, and then I had a fucking fling, yeah, in between, yeah. And then my daughter Jasmine came along. And for someone who's lost their kids, had the kids taken away from all their life, that was hard shit to deal with, yeah. Especially one of my children dying, yeah. And so I just wanted to die. I didn't want to be here. I hated myself. I really hated myself. And I remember, with your mind, you create from your mind. So if you're creating negativity, you're saying to yourself, I want to fucking die. You're going to die. Well, you'll come close to it. And there I was going to see my mate, Huey, Batsy Banger. You met him, Huey Robinson? Mm-hmm. Good fighter. I was taking 1,000 Viagras up to him on the back of my motorbike. You know, I didn't have to run shit around. I had people to do that. But I didn't care. I was being reckless. And I had a skimpy little tracksuit on and Puma trainers and a backpack with 1,000 Viagras. All that was illegal back then. Flew him up to meet my mate in Petswood. And as I'm going up there, I've overtook a car on the bike and it's turned into me, straight into my leg, knocked me off the bike. I went flying through air like Superman. And it did stop. Everything slowed down and stopped. And I remember saying to something, there was something there. I think it might have been my angel. It might have been this voice I had as a child all through my life that I used to interact with and sense something was there, or talk to even my higher self. Yeah, whatever it was. Something I said, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. I don't want to die. Yeah. And then as it coming down, a little voice in my head said, roll. And then straight away I rolled, because I used to martial arts as well. So I done a martial arts roll. And lay on your back. This is what the instructions I was either giving myself or something was giving me. So as I hit with the bike, I've gone flying through the air like that. And I'm diving towards the floor now. Roll. So then I've rolled. Lay on your back and steady yourself. Use the backpack to protect you, which is what I did. There was Viagras everywhere. Up the road, yeah? Yeah. But the car that had turned into my leg snapped my tibia and opened up my shin bone. Opened up my shin to the bone. And it finally come still, stopped. And winded, I tried to get up. And as I tried to get up, my foot snapped. Literally, like that, snapped. And I thought, fuck. Okay, nowhere, because you try and run, do you? Instinct says run. So the first thing, next thing I've done is got my phone. Huey, come and get me. I'm down the road, I just had an accident. Tony, come and get me. I'm in Petswood, because I just left him from the Viagras, yeah? Christine, the one I had an affair with. Oh, I had an accident, babe. Don't ring me. I'll ring you another day. And then my girlfriend back indoors. Babe, I've had an accident. I'm going to Bromley Hospital, I think. The old Bromley Hospital. And then about 45 minutes later, the ambulance came. And I'm like that. Where they shock. And they finally got me to the hospital. All my friends there, Sam's there. And my friend Tony saying, Paul, tell Sam you're right. She's here, Paul. Tell her you're right. I'm like, yeah, I'm all right, babe. And they'd give me loads of morphine. And I thought I was dying. Literally thought I was dying. And I went, babe, I'm sorry. I've had a baby with someone else, because I thought I was about to die. And then I died. I thought I died anyway. And I remember waking up in the night screaming, because when you're on, they give you that stuff and you do have these mad dreams. And the nurse came home and said, no, you're right. You're okay. And then I was trying to recollect what had happened the night before. And then I remembered I'd confessed. But I'd got it out, finally got it out. And this was the root of what was doing, the guilt kind of thing, yeah? And cut a long story short, Sam, she was quite good about it, to be honest. She stayed with me, you know. But I don't think it was the affair that actually ruined it. I think it was the fact that from that moment on, I wanted to see my daughter, and that was in a conflict, and that created problems with her and me all the time. I sold my property. We moved into, we're trying to change everything around. I promised her I wouldn't see her, but I just kept, that's my daughter. You know, I need to see my daughter. I was not seeing the girl no more, you know. And although she used to say to me, come with me. I said, no, I can't. I'm with my family. I can't, you know. And the addiction got heavier and heavier and heavier. And then I had a psychic battle going on in my head with someone else. I'm not going to say who. And I couldn't train. I was limping. I was in a wheelchair for months, and then I was on crutches for months and sniffing cocaine every night, more and more and more. Now, because I was sniffing cocaine more and more every night, I couldn't train and undo it. So my head was getting more and more clouded, and I was fighting a losing battle. And the paranoia was kicking in more and more. And I thought, right, power, get the books, and started studying the Goetia. Have you heard of the Goetia?
No.
Abraham Servitor's book.
No.
Okay. So this book is King Solomon's Goetic Spirits, 72 Goetic Spirits of King Solomon. You get their allegiance. So you get a name, like I said earlier, the transition of alphabets, Tamura Gamitra. You translate their names, find out this and that, and then you put a formula together, and then you can do an evocation from that. Obviously, I don't want to go into how you do it properly. I don't want people trying it out there and getting themselves in all sorts of shit.
Yeah, people would.
It's a dangerous book, powerful. But with the right guidance, it's powerful and not so dangerous, yeah? But I was not guided. I was not in the clear mind anymore. And it was something dark and sinister latched onto me. And so on the Tree of Life, Holy Kabbalah, 6 Sephiroth, that's the highest point of meditation. And then the angelic forces or Jesus, Muhammad or whatever can come and meet you there. And then that's when you get union with divinity, and then you can get guidance from them, yeah? So when you, being pure that is, yeah? But when you're start descending into the darker realms below the cliff off, it's the kind of, it's hard to explain without explaining it all, kind of, but in a nutshell, the Tree of Life works like a Jacob's ladder kind of thing. And anyone who understands the Kabbalah like I do, the practical Kabbalah, will understand what I'm talking about, yeah? And the worlds kind of move up, and there's another Sephiroth, which is an illusional one called Death. And that's like, gives you a false impression of where you are. So in my head, doing the studies, I think I'm still talking to my angel, yeah, my holy guardian angel, Kosit. But when in fact Kosit can't relate to me anymore because I've descended. So the lower worlds, I've moved down to the lower worlds, but still think I'm in the mental sphere. This is, yeah, and the demonic influences have moved up, yeah, and took the seat of my angel. So now so you got to understand these cards. Before all this happened here, these cards, if they said to me, "Do this, this is going to happen," I believed it 1,000,000%. You know, there's no doubt. You must have certainty. In magic, you must have certainty. If you don't, it's not going to work. But it's a bit like in religion, you must have faith. We don't believe in faith, we believe in certainty, because faith can let you down. Certainty won't, because it's certainly going to happen. So when you have that certainty in your cards, that what they tell you is bang on right, you just follow it. So when my angel has left and this demon has took its place because I've descended in my thinking and where I'm going, it's got me. And I think it's my angel. So it's saying to me, get this book, get that book, different kind of books. And through the Goetic book, there was telling me to do the, I'm kind of losing where I'm going here, yeah? There was doing, before I'd done that, I was going into the Sephiroth, the deeper forms of Sephiroth, which is I've got the name of them now. I've lost track of what I'm saying. The angelic in form, but I can't think of it. Hold on.
How many realms are there? How many levels from the good to the dark?
Right, so with the tree of life, you've got the 4 worlds, which are like fire, water, air, and earth. Yeah, but the dark is descended. It's like it's very hard without telling you the whole lot to make it sense of it. Yeah, but you say the dark realms are the lower part of the tree, and they descend beneath the tree. Yeah, and there's like each Sephiroth, there is another tree of life within the Sephiroth. Yeah. And then another tree of life within that Sephiroth. And now you're going from the mass to the infinite. And this ascension of these is where the dark realms are. And everything's unbalanced there. So the coherence of the tree of life, the 4 worlds, are perfectly balanced. There's harmony there, yeah? You've got pillar of mildness, pillar of severity, and they're balanced. But the lower worlds are unbalanced. So what I'm trying to say to you is, because I was thinking in forms of getting power for in a dark sense, the dark lords were kind of being drawn to me, or I was drawing them to me, and I'm drawn to them. And this spirit that's come into my place of my angel is now controlling my life. You know, you've got to understand, this is very hard for me to talk about, because this was a time in my life where I was at my lowest. Yeah. And I kind of forget about that, and you'll know why when I tell you more, yeah? But it's completely fucking with my head, basically. And it starts telling me things that ain't real. And my cards, I always believed. So now, but at that point, it was about 13 years into the magic. 13 years of trusting your cards, and all of a sudden, the cards are now telling you wrong, different. Your whole belief system's being doubted now all of a sudden, yeah? And then you take more and more cocaine, more and more drink, and you get more and more wasted. And it was making me do all these divination things and invoking more spirits. And when you invoke a spirit from the Goetia, that spirit rules legions of spirits. You know how many is in a legion? 600, is it? So legions. So you got hundreds of spirits working for that prince or whatever it is.
Dark spirits.
Dark spirits.
So it's not just one spirit, somebody feels
loads.
You've got hundreds of entities.
So the idea, if you do it the right way, you get their control, so they work for you. Yeah. But I wasn't in control back then. And so there's a mass going through my head of voices, visions, and thoughts. And it's like, so see this bottle, say this is your soul, your spirit, yeah? That water's your spirit. Yeah. Okay. When you invoke a spirit into you, yeah, a bit of you goes and a bit of it comes in. So the more you invoke, say, it's probably about there, just over halfway. Now my voice, my own voice, I can't hear really so much. I've got the voices of the demonic stuff going on, telling me to do this, telling me to do that. Yeah. That is, so in the early days of the magic, we through meditation, learned to control our thoughts a lot. And if it wasn't for that, and for when I met Kung Fu Ian and done martial arts with him and the meditation with him, my mind would never have been disciplined enough to be able to get through what I had to get through. Yeah. So moving on from that, because it's like I say, it's very hard for me to talk about it. And anyone listening to that think this geezer's off his fucking head. You hear what he's saying? This is old stuff. I don't do that stuff no more. It was a process I was going through to get where I am now. And then obviously things happen around my life. We moved out down into Dartford, and my ex had enough of me. I was a fiend, a drug fiend. I was nobody like she knew, so she was going out doing her own thing, and she found someone else. But the turning point was the cards, not the cards, in the dream. I woke up with an impulse to harm my son, Alfie. Yeah, and it was a fear. It was like you want me to kill Alfie? That's where my state of mind was then. You've got to understand my state of mind then. And I went to my cards and I went, you want me to kill my son? You give me a King of Hearts, which is 100% yes. So when you're trusting these cards all them years, and then it tells you that, what do? As you turn to. Now, my brother and the magic at that point, I'd not fallen out with, but we'd distanced ourselves from each other. So normally I could call on him and he'd put my head straight. He'd have seen it coming, but he didn't know what was going on. And these spirits kind of moved me away from that. The accident was all part of making me not be able to do. And that sounds like a paranoia, but you know, that's how I see it. You know, it was like they're pulling me away from everyone. Moved to Dartford. I didn't know anyone in Dartford. One person I knew in Dartford. And so I told she was in the magic. She knew about it. And I told her what and she was scared, obviously. And then I said, look, don't worry, babe, it's not going to happen. It's like, I need to sort myself out. I don't know what's going on. And at that moment then, I said, I'm not fucking touching them cards no more, for a start, yeah? And I'm trying to get carried, but my mind is racing because of all the cocaine and the drug state I was in. And I said to her, right, previous years before that, when we was taking, she was like a bit cocaine as well, we take cocaine. I said, look, we need a rest. Let's fuck off abroad somewhere, go on holiday. So I book a last minute holiday. We go to holiday, leave it alone. Week or two later, I'm clean, I'm back to myself, and I'm ready to train. Oh, fancy a little lion though, you know, that sort of creeps, that kind of creeps back in, doesn't it? And she wanted it just as much as me. And I'm like, when we get back, she'll get a bit. It's been, yeah. And it was as easy as that. And then you're back on the fucking madness kind of thing. But like at this point, now all that things that happened in my life, I got to this point where, you know, they was telling me that about my son. And I've had to put that away. I said to her, like, listen, babe, you know I fucked up and everything. What I've done. She's ready to leave me, basically. And I said to her, like, let's go. Even though I was like skint, I still had money because I was still serving up. But most of this stuff was going on me kind of thing, yeah? But I still had a bit of money here now coming in. So I said, we go on holiday, a make or break holiday. Well, we didn't make it. And we got back and she left. And then I was on my own. And she left with the kids, which was very heartbreaking, but I didn't cry. I just like that. Wait till she went, then I started crying. And then I got a line out and started smoking weed and taking cocaine and drinking wine and brandy heavily. No one knew about this because I'm away from everyone. And it's one person. I came out so I used to, then there was an off license down the road, and you might have seen these characters walking around sometimes. And this would never thought this would have ever been me. Yeah, baseball cap, dark glasses, dressing gown, slippers, paranoid as fuck. Quickly walking down to your off license to quickly go and score some alcohol and cigarettes because you've just got, you know, you've got a couple of grams of cocaine turn up any minute, yeah? And this could be any time of the day, night, whenever you can get there. And be absorbed into porn, I don't know why. You get in such a state with that shit, you can't get an erection anyway, yeah? But, you know, you get to focus on your mind. And this madness going on in my head and laughter and seeing images and faces. I mean, I'm not saying that some of it wasn't cocaine psychosis. I was in trouble. And I came out one day at the property, at the house, and my friend Matt was there. And he went, fucking hell, what are you doing here? And he's not geese I didn't want to see because I know I'm fucked up in here, yeah? And he's the Matt that was down the club from years ago, what I said. And he used to have his gang of guys, he'd keep them, make them behave themselves. And he looked at me like, and I'd got him into the magic a couple of years before and I forgot about that. And he went, because he's a big guy and he'd screw you out straight away. Like, and my eyes don't want to meet his eyes because I'm paranoid fuck at the moment. And he went, you fucked me up, Paul. I said, what do you mean? He went, you got me in that magic. I had so much bad luck. He went to me, you got demons, Paul. He looked in my eyes. I thought, how's he know? Because obviously what's gone on, obviously he didn't know what I was going through, but I knew what he'd gone through. He went to the church and he said to me, you need to get yourself to the church, mate. You need to get rid of the demons, like that. And he was left like that. It was calm and he left. So that's been, seeds been planted in my head. But how can I go to a fucking church after I've been what I've been through? So the drug thing carried on night after night, and I'd go 2 or 3 nights. And by this point, I'm putting on loads of weight from the alcohol I'm drinking. And some people take coke, go like that. Other people blow out. I blew out. I went up to 8.5 stone, 18.5 stone. Now, I am protected. Always have been. Okay. okay, I might have moved to Dartford. It just so happened the place that I moved to in Dartford was right next to a doctor's surgery. The car park next to the house was in Pilgrim's Way, Dartford, was a doctor's surgery. And I had to register with this doctor. And if I didn't, I wouldn't have known I was about to have a heart attack. And they had needed to give me, not saying I would have had a heart attack. My blood pressure was so fucking high. I was overweight, drinking, smoking cocaine and Valium night after night. You know, you ain't going to last long, are you? So you need to go on medication. So they put me on medication. So something in the background was working around, kind of thing. Yeah. Now, my ex had gone. And then I watched a thing on television, Talk to Frank. You know, you seen the advert, Talk to Frank? Yeah.
If you've got a problem, phone
Frank.
Frank.
Problem, phone Frank. So I rang Frank. But this don't happen straight away. It happens a week or two apart. You know, you get a little hint from my mate Matt. You need to get to church. You need to talk to Frank. Church, Frank. Hello, Frank. Can you help me out, mate? Come to one of our meetings. And there was a guy called Jeff from the Bromley CA? Cocaine Anonymous, yeah. CA. Jeff went there and I met a few people that I knew from years ago who are also addicts. And you're going to see that, ain't you? And I listened, they're talking about God and a higher power. And I was like, I know the God bit. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's almost like God was saying to me, you've only got to ask, son, and I'll save you. It was like that. And I thought, I can't. He's not going to forgive me. And I remember saying to Jeff before I left that night, saying to him, I don't want to go, mate. And he said, why? I said, because I'm going to go and pick up on the way home. He said, well, go a different way home. And back then I was like, oh yeah, that's an idea. Go a different way home. And I did. And I remember getting home, and this was the 16th of March, 2006. I remember getting home. Yes, I've done it. I got home. And then a voice in my head, yeah, but he's around the corner. Get a bit of him. And that was it. I was like, crying. Broken man, fell to my knees and I said to God, okay, God, if I said, take my addiction away or take me away. Yeah? And that was 16th of March, 2006. I ain't touched anything since. That was powerful. But why would God do that for me? You know, is there a God? Is there a devil? This is unanswered questions, something I knew I had to learn and find out. So, I went, I didn't know what to do. I kept this interference telling me to go to Ian. And then a voice said to me, go to bed. This is after I prayed. Go to bed. Just go to bed. And I did. Went to bed, fell asleep, woke up the next morning. That same voice picked up from there and said, leave the place. Like, so this is something higher in me. This is not me, but it's something guiding me within now, telling me to leave the place. So I told the guy who owned the place, I'm leaving, I can't afford this no more, blah, blah, blah. I had to get away from that place. And now I'm with my dog Badder and I'm in a car. That's all I had left. And then within hours, my other friend Tommy rang me. Hello, mate, what are you up to? Where are you? I said, I got nowhere to live now, Tom, blah, blah, blah. He said, you've got somewhere? He said, no. He said, I'll get back to you. I'll find somewhere for you. He got back within an hour or so, or whatever it was. And he's found a place. There's a skunk factory down in Cholton that they're growing skunk there, but there's a bedroom there and there's a bathroom there. You can stay there. So they're putting two and two together. I can be security while I'm there, kind of thing, yeah? So I've gone there with my dog Badder and all the demon shit going on in my head as well. And so this girl, Christine, one date I went on to her was Phantom of the Opera. You've seen that?
Yeah.
Christine. Yeah. And that's probably why one of the only DVD, I took my little telly, a little portable telly DVD player and a DVD. And the only DVD player that I got was Phantom of the Opera. So I went up to the bedroom and I played it and it was on continue repeat. Now, when you've been on a cocaine binge, and then you come off it, you want to sleep, don't you? You just sleep. I slept, come out, sleep, back to sleep, get sleeping. And when I wake up, I would see this power circle of power thing, not power, ball of dark ball of light, not ball of light, a ball of energy. That's the term. ball of energy, and you turn away from it, and then like you'd have a negative thought there, you kind of turn away, you don't know where to. In the end, you just accept it. Everything you see, it's like it's normal. It becomes normality. You get used to it, kind of thing. Yeah. And like I'd get like laughing in the back of my head, and you know my head was scrambled, my brain was scrambled. Like I say, it could have been some of it cocaine psychosis. And then my dog Badder's with me, and I walked down the stairs to get a drink in the morning, early in the morning, so it's still dark. And I woke up, this ball of energy was up there again. It used to follow me around, but it was dark. It weren't nice, it was dark. And I come walking down the stairs, and as I come walking down the stairs, you got like a banister there. I see myself hanging, yeah? But it was just like one of them things I was getting used to seeing. Then it disappeared. So I carried on walking down, didn't think nothing of it, got my drink, went back up to bed. Now, pal of mine, David, turned up the next day. He knew the guy who owned the house. He was doing the skunk factory. And I told him, I fucking see myself hanging there this morning. And he went, no. I went, yeah. And he went, Paul, I didn't tell you this. The reason this house has been empty is someone from up north, a cokehead, was living down there with him. And he hung himself on them stairs. And that's that spot that I see myself. So maybe I see him, not me. And but it didn't mean nothing to me. It was kind of the stuff I was used to. So over the next week or two, I started healing, getting stronger. But I'm still limping from my accident. And I thought, I need to do something. And this voice in me said, fight again. So I trained up to fight. I went down to, you know Reggie Parker? Did you know Reggie Parker? Lenny McLean?
Right,
Lenny McLean was good friends with Reggie Parker. Reggie Parker used to show Lenny, he used to do all the unlicensed fights. Mm-hmm. And I used to fight at, on Reggie's shows, a lot of his shows before that. And I've gone down there and training up for another fight. And my friend Ernie, the travelling boy, Ernie, he was doing all the boxing shows, unlicensed then. He said he'd get me a fight. But I've been out of my head for 4 years on cocaine. Yeah. And like 2 months later, I'm getting in a boxing ring. I'm like heavyweight now, and you know, I'm not fit at all. And I'm going against a Thai fighter, because like any unlicensed things, not just boxers, Thai fighters will do boxing or kickboxer, I will. And it was a Russian guy, Thai fighter. And I kind of, I lost the fight, but I went the distance. I was just limping and I wasn't fit to keep it going. But it was like, all of a sudden it brought me back into the scene with people again, like Stocky's back. But I was nowhere near back. I was a screwed up, fucked up man in my head still, yeah? But no one knew that. And then all of a sudden, my old door team was running a club down in Chislehurst called the Lounge Bar. Paul, do you want to come and work on the door down here? Yeah, I will do. So now I'm working on the doors again, still limping a bit, yeah? Trying to get clarity in my head. What the fuck has just happened to my life kind of thing, you know? And now I'm trying to redesign my life again, get back into the stuff. And I wasn't the same person anymore, yeah? I was, had fear. And it's like, I had to, I was almost like I was bluffing. Because it was in Chislehurst, people in that manner knew me not to fuck with me, yeah? So that helped me out. But over the weeks and the months, my confidence started growing a bit more. And the old me started coming back a bit. And then it was forced I'd had to fight. I'd had to knock someone out or throw someone out. And my courage started returning back. But then, people you meet, I met another guy who kind of got me back into drugs again. I was going back up that, so not taking them, because I haven't touched anything since, yeah, but selling them again. I was going back up that route again. And so like, you say, I said earlier about the devil and God is there. One is, you know, are they there? Blah, blah, blah. I use that chessboard game. My life seems to have been played with the different energies, dark and light. God against the devil, but me through my life kind of thing. So on one side, I'm getting opportunities like this guy I met down there and wants to start selling drugs with me, etc., getting me into it. I've moved from that skunk factory into renting a flat off the guy moved into that skunk factory, into one of his flats. The guy I was working for at the lounge bar, he had a flat. I moved into that. That's where I met the other guy. He ended up coming there as well. It was a 2-bedroom. And then he said, we used to talk, and he said, you used to do all that gear and that. And I said, yeah. He said, why don't you? He said, I've got loads of people who buy that. Why don't you like? I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll get it, you supply it. Yeah, I buy it, you supply it. And that's our deal. And we started earning lots of money all of a sudden. Yeah. And then he went to me, why don't we rent a big house somewhere? So we rented that and makes massive fucking house down in Bickley. But we can afford to do this because money's coming in again. So now you can imagine God going, no, Paul, that ain't the route. That ain't what you've got to do. I mean, if there is a God, you know, I'm not said there is yet. And leave that open because of my other books that come out, yeah, tell you more about that. And then all of a sudden, I think I need a girlfriend now. So this woman come in called Jess, wearing a St. Christopher, no, wearing a cross around her neck. And she just walked in there and she walked straight towards me with a big smile on her face. Yeah, she's up for this. All right, darling. Like, chatting her up, trying all the comedy lines. And she said to me, I've never been in here. She said, but I just felt I had to come in here for some reason. And I think I had to come in here to talk to you. And I see the chain and I said, like, you're into God? And she went, yeah, well, yeah, so am I. As you do, you know, trying to like chat her up. And she said, come to my church then. And I said, yeah, I'll come to your church. Bromley Christian Centre it was, Bromley South. Come this Sunday. I said, okay, I'll meet you there. I thought, yes, I'm in here. Nice Christian girl. Yes, nice. Thanks, God. Yeah. I've gone to the church on Sunday. She's introduced me. Oh, give me a hug. Come in. This is so-and-so. All that of the church. They all welcome you, etc., etc. And this is my fiance. Like that. Oh, fucking hell. But the ploy was to get me to church. It's almost like God had made her go to there. And I'm not saying this is what happened. This is almost like it was. God had got me to there. I never went back there again I did, but not, I thought, no, I ain't coming back. I mugged myself right off here, yeah. And I never went back. And then another bird coming to me, let's say the Dark Forces sent this one in called Ruth, okay? And it was during a James Bond theme night. So they're dressed up but they're the Roaring Twenties style, but it was a James theme night, but they was like dressed up as Roaring Twenties girls. And I like that scene. And she come on me and she said to me, you're just my type. And it was like, yes, because I want a girlfriend. I ain't like had one for like 6-7 months or longer. No, even longer than that, what I'm talking about, since my girl left me. And I want a girlfriend. And because she showed me affection, that was it. But she completely messed with my head. It was almost like something's trying to twist my head to make me go back onto that path again. So that you can see the forces at play now, can you hear? And then one day she sent me a picture on this little phone I had with a boyfriend in bed with her. He was asleep, but she was insane. And she sent me the picture. I thought, what have you done that for? It really fucked me up. You can imagine, because I thought, she's the one, you know. And that should push me over. And I was really fucked up. One of them, Mike, one of the doormen next to me, Mike, you're right, Paul. And I said, no, look at this fucking bitch she's done. And then this other girl who used to come give me a cuddle when she comes, she always go up there. She's looked at it, she's gone, what's the matter, babe? See, I was upset. And I said, fucking, look what she's done. And then the phone rang, it was her. And she's going, I just couldn't tell you, I'm in a relationship. Yeah, it's over. I'm just being naughty, like, you know, just being horrible. So this other girl picked up the phone and she rang her back. She went, stop fucking ringing my boyfriend, will you? She turned it on her kind of thing and give me a little bit of go forward kind of thing, yeah? But I still hadn't gone back to any drugs. I just had to deal with that. And I decided to buy myself a flat instead. So I bought myself a flat, but I still haven't gone to the church. And that's when my daughter Jade rang me up one day and she said, Daddy, can you take me to this club in Bromley called Baseline? And I think she was 12 or 13 then, I can't remember. I said, yeah, of course I will. She said, will you come with me one Sunday, Dad? This is Baseline. I said, yeah, of course I will. So where do I meet? He said, Bromley South. So I met her. It was the same fucking church. that I'd gone and met that Jess with. So I walked back in now. Now I can't leave there because it's a youth club thing, and it was almost like youth club 14 to 19-year-olds, and they was getting groups of people coming from all around here, older boys trying to get hold of the younger girls kind of thing, 90-year-olds with 50-year-olds, and they didn't like that. They wanted security. So I said, I'd do security, and they said, will you help us out down here? So it was like, give me an opportunity to come out of that scene and then start working down there kind of thing. But I hadn't transited properly yet. And I kind of started coming to the church. Well, I was drawn into the church. And they were such a lovely group of people. And I just felt I belonged there for some reason. And I don't know if you're religious or whoever listens is religious, but anyone who's experienced the Holy Spirit will tell you it's real. It's something really real there, you know. And I experienced something. And it was almost like, although I would given up my addiction, I hadn't sorted out my spiritual side. I was still unbalanced. And every Sunday I'd go there, and every Sunday I'd cry my eyes out. And in the end, I'd be raising my hands up to Jesus, praying to Jesus, like you see him do if you ever go to a church, yeah? And I felt good. And my spirit was being renewed. And then all of a sudden, I got in an altercation down the club with not a little firm. It was just how it manifested. I'm not going to go into it. Point being, at gunpoint, I was given a right hiding. Done me a fucking favour, because it got me out of that life, that scene. And I carried on going into the church. And I mean, I have friends, I could have gone to war with them. Some of us would have died. Some of us gone to prison. But I stuck to my Christian faith and become a born again Christian. And then I got, actually, no, you have to rewind that. I become a born again Christian first. I gave my life to Christ. And then that happened. It was like the dark thought, oh yeah, you're going to go there, are you? This happened. And then just to make things a little bit worse, a couple of weeks later, I got caught in a drug conspiracy who was eventually gave me 8.5 years, which was my second prison sentence, yeah? But a lot of that's in the book.
What did you feel more protective with, the dark side or the Christ?
Both.
That's fucked up, innit?
That's not fucked up. Both. I have balance now.
But
I mean, without going into it,
I believe we've all got intuition. We're all, if we tap into it, we all can. Like my family members are like, they're so in tune with it. Like I believe in like tarot cards and black magic, and like I've seen it. I know people who do it at higher levels in the fuckery that they do, but also know there's also backlash that they receive by fucking with the magic.
Yeah.
And it's scary, but it's fascinating.
Yeah.
You know,
let me tell you something.
I interviewed a cannibal, Paul.
Let me tell you something on that, yeah? Sorry, were you saying?
I interviewed a cannibal a couple of months ago.
Cannibal?
Yeah, respected his the Vampire of Paris.
Oh,
called him.
Actually, ate human flesh.
Yeah, human flesh. Didn't give a fuck. That's what he said. So his dad, he was kind of not abused, but his dad was into like Satanism, and he kind of gravitated towards it. And then he was fascinated by skulls, and then he wanted to work in the morgue.
Yeah,
he didn't want to harm people, but he worked in the morgue. Used to cut out,
get the bones.
Yeah.
Cut. That's Obi-Wanga. That's Obi-Wanga.
But then it's like this obsession that it stopped there.
So what you're talking about a different level.
Yeah.
But what we're talking about with my next book is that level. Okay. So what I'm talking about here, like I said to you earlier on in the podcast, I just don't feel comfortable talking about it because I'm so not that now. And I need to make that clear. I am not that way now. That was learning. You said to me, where did I feel most safer with?
Where did you feel the most power?
The most power is both. Because, and this is where I'm at now. Yeah. People say there's a God and a devil. No, there isn't. Yeah. God is both good and evil. How can he not be? He's God. But is he God? Or is it part of an essence of existence? Yeah. I believe that, and I said I don't want to quote this for anyone to like follow it. My personal belief yeah, is that you have yin and yang, positive, negative, black, white, whatever you want to call it, yeah? We as human beings are both. We're good and bad. And within us, we have a shadow, which is the dark. And we need to integrate that with us as a unity and be in control of it. Yeah, because when we learn to control who we are and what we're meant to be doing in life, we can make magic happen. Yeah, good things. Or we can make bad things happen. Whatever we will be. Yeah. So part of the journey I've gone on is to learn where I am now, that stuff. All this stuff I used to do in the early days was like learning. I'll never do that shit anymore. But I had to learn the dark. How can you know the light if you don't know the dark, and vice versa? You have to know both. And if you get the Bible and look at the Bible, the God in the Bible, does he sound like the God or the devil? I mean, let's look at that. How many generations of people did he kill because they didn't obey him in the Old Testament? How many did? I mean, I don't know if you read the Bible.
Yeah, no, it's a bit of satanic in it as well. There's a lot of fuckery in it.
Yeah,
and all religions.
Does he sound like a good God or a bad God?
Because if you ask God or Jesus for strength, they'll make you weak. Yeah. So you find the strength.
Yeah, yeah. So whatever means he does it, or whatever it is you're dealing with does it. But like,
do you miss it, Paul?
Do I miss what?
The other side.
I don't miss what I went through. It fucked me up, mate, big time. It took me years to get through that. Years. My mind now is stronger than it's ever been. But my physical body is better. I was like, I mean, we waffled on a lot about stuff in the book, the early days, yeah. But the me now is completely different to that. I came back and kept fighting. I come back and fought for an IBA heavyweight title in 2023 against Darren Coville, who was the current champion. I thought I won that one. It was very close. They thought he was going to just knock me out at heavyweight. You know, we're not natural heavyweights. We fought 30 years ago at middleweight. He carried on doing it right up until now, and I 20 years out on drugs and things. But I came back because I knew I had to do it. It's something I needed to have that I've achieved that, because that's something I failed in. And I needed to achieve that. So I'm fighting again, and the opportunity come through will again. But I knew that I won that fight, and everyone was talking about that. Maybe I didn't win that fight. Maybe he did win it. But because everyone was talking about that I did win it, it gave me another shot. In 2024, I climbed into the ring at the Circus Tavern and fought him for the title and won at 58 years old. I'm 60 now.
Listen, you look great. So whatever you're doing is working.
That's what I'm saying. I feel really good. And it's like my mind is getting so much stronger. My focus, my understanding, it's not everyone's cup of tea. But this book is kind of what I went through, and it's all past. I've matured so much more and advanced in my thinking now, which is now what the second book's about. And it deals with, well, I don't really want to go into too much what it deals about, but it deals about Christ energy, Laura Thelma, a combination of everything from different. It also deals with people in the government, hierarchies and things. You know, you've seen this stuff. You go through this stuff. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I speak to people involved in it all.
And exactly. And it's just my take on it. And it is very controversial. The second book can be very controversial, but not everyone is ready to listen to what I'm saying. But there are people out there who are ready, and that's who it's for. Because it's like no one believes it. I'll start again. So many people lost faith in religion because, let's face it, does it work? Not really. It's a form of control, and a lot of that happened with the Catholic Church. You know, they put things into it, swapped it around for control.
Do you believe the higher powers who control this world
Definitely
dabble in magic?
Definitely. And that's what I was saying when you said it's about another level, yeah? So let me tell you a story without mentioning his name. He knows who he is, okay? Powerful man, well respected. Mason. Went round to see him once down in Bermondsey. And, Paul, tell me about that. You know, he's read a bit, but I've seen some of my podcasts. Tell me about that dark stuff you was telling me about, Paul, because I'm kind of interested in that. So I told him about it. I said about the Go Eater book, etc., etc. And they tried to tell me to kill my son. And he went, I'm going to show you something now, but you can't tell anyone. So I'm not telling you his name, yeah? He's a Mason. He got his book out. He got his bag out and he took out a book. It's the same fucking book. He said, see that book you're telling me about? That is our Bible as a Masons. He's quite high up in there, yeah? He should not have shown me that, yeah? But we're pals. He went, you know who the head of the Masonic order is, don't you? And I went, King Charles. And I went, yeah. He went, yeah. He's also head of the church. He said, if you'd have killed your son that day, you would be a multi-millionaire now, Paul. And I went, the thought of that, just, you know, you get what I'm saying, what he was saying, yeah. And it was giving clarity. And it's like, since I bought that book out, it came out 27th of December last year, I had like crystal clarification of where I am, where I'm going. All of a sudden, I had a route and everything started making sense. That's why I've read this second book. And the second book tells you really where I'm going. But it brings in this stuff we're talking about now, which is controversial. I could get assassinated, that kind of stuff, yeah? Like Salman Rushdie when he said things, yeah? But it's real and it's true. And the guy I'm talking about, who said about the book, I haven't told you his name, when you was telling me about the bones and the skulls and things, yeah? He was into Hobie Wonga and he would often go into a graveyard. And he didn't know I knew that. Someone else told me that. And I said to him, how the fuck do you know that? He's like, because it's something you don't, someone has kept it close, but it's got to me somehow. And he don't do that shit no more, yeah? But you go into these Epstein files and things like that, and our royal family, yeah? Go to all the hierarchies that have ever been around. They're all involved in that shit. And blood sacrifice, you know, when you look at the Bible talks of nothing but sacrifice, but animals. Yeah, but it's not animal, it's blood.
Drinking blood,
you know, and like I've never gone down that path. I'm never going to go down that path. Yeah.
Did you think about it though?
No. That's not me. Not me.
That's what the Vampire of Paris used to do. They used to drink blood, cut themselves, but it was like sacrifices. Used to draw out all the claws and stuff. But he's actually helping people now. I'll send you it. Fucking unbelievable. Like,
yeah, do yeah.
He's
he might get me into.
Yeah, no, but he's actually so what happens is people found out what he was doing, and everyone, the biggest gangsters, were terrified of him in prison.
Yeah,
he wasn't a gangster
so,
just because he was known for drinking blood and fucking eating people.
Mad.
Yeah, but I would rather sit with him than anyone because he was honest.
Yeah,
he fucking owned it. People say, "How can you sit there?" I'm thinking the guy's honest. I would rather sit with him than some bullshit.
You know where you stand, don't you? Yeah,
and but they were all in contact. All the serial killers, all the Satanists, all the blood drinkers, and they all used to write to each other.
Yeah,
and now it's like everything's a cult. Religion's a cult.
Of course it is.
So
of course it is.
It was just
so you're on the same page as me then.
Yeah.
So that next book, you were like that. You should go and buy it.
Yeah, I will, brother.
Yeah.
Listen, it's an unbelievable story that you have. You opened up to it. You were hesitant of your story, but when you started opening up, it came free flowing.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where the magic is with these interviews.
Yeah.
Because there was no cutting off. It was like something had bottled up where you've let it go.
Yeah. I think because a lot of it, that old stuff, I've shut out because it's dangerous, negative. It's like you've got to understand for many years, I'm expecting it to come back where it's got control of me. So for many years I'm in fear, and I ain't got that fear no more. Yeah, I am. You know the term I am?
Yeah.
Monad?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah. So does anyone else who understands that. I am. So I am now in control of everything, my world, my universe. I'm God in my universe now. And that is kind of a big statement for someone to say. But I think you understand where I'm coming from there.
I think speaking about it takes away its power.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you kill it when you speak
and the
about
thing
it.
is, if you like, and this is what I put in my next book, it's like you unify all the religions, all the faiths, all the belief system. They're all the same fucking thing. And the positive polarization of the masculine and feminine is the balance. Yeah. And if you have both, that means dark and light, but stand perpendicular to the Earth's tangent, your microcosmic force and your macrocosmic force is in perfect alignment. You have equilibrium, you have that balance. Therefore, you have control. You're neither dark, you're neither light. You're whatever one you want to be. But I've chosen to be neither, but tuning into one as I do. It's like a spider's web. My life, I've got a spider's web in my life, in my world, where I go. And every now and then I get a tremor. Yeah, I can feel that as I'm the spider. I can feel that tremor. And I might have to counteract a bit of that with a bit of dark, or a bit of that with a bit of light, but it's not it doesn't rule me. I'm indifferent from both of it, yeah? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Did you ever feel as if you would get through it all?
Get through it all?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I got through it all.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But did you ever think you would have?
No,
did you always believe?
I was in fear that, obviously the first fear was when it was telling me to kill my son Alfie. I love my boy Alfie and never kill any fucking kid, I mean, would I kill a human being? I probably wouldn't kill a human being, to be honest. Might have done earlier part in my life, but I regretted it for my life. I'm not a murderer at the end of the day, yeah? So when I had that about him, that was a massive fear, phobia. It created a phobia. It was like for years that took, is something going to possess me all of a sudden and go, and kill him, do you know? And I mean, in the early days, I'm trying to fight with that thought in my head. And and the side of me is going, so I used to cuddle my son Alfie all the time. He was 5 years old, he'd sit in my house, stroke his hair all the time, always cuddling him. When that feeling was, I'm going to hurt him or whatever it is, yeah, I couldn't get near him. And then he'd want to cuddle me, and I'm like, I don't want to, you know what I mean? But then I'd have to cuddle him sometimes. And I remember I was in the kitchen once, and there's a kitchen knife there, and I got him on my arms like that there, and then my hand went to the knife like that, yeah. I thought, what am I doing? And I thought, there's no way I'm going to harm my son. And I got the knife behind his neck like that, and this is going to look terrible, yeah, to prove to myself nothing in this world, dark or light, is going to make me harm him. And I put it down, and I knew that I got control, and it's from then I started building a relationship. But that's dangerous. You think how that could have been. How many times have you read or heard someone say, the devil told me to kill that person? You hear it a lot, don't you? Yeah. And I think that's kind of where I was going. Or like my friend said in the book, if you'd have killed him, you would be a multi-millionaire now. It would have been like a form of a sacrifice. But that's not me. Never has been, never would be.
You do see a lot of these big celebrities who lose it. A hell of a lot. Too many. And yet they do go to another level. Yeah. There's definitely something in it. Like, I totally believe that. I've interviewed people from all walks of life, all cults, black magic, white magic, cannibalism, Satanism, Scientology, Christians, Muslims. They're all cults. Yeah. You're buying into something. Even the Mormons, like, everything is just brainwashing. It's easy to brainwash a human.
With control,
manipulation. With consistency. Look at soldiers, for instance.
Yeah, they're drilled. They're drilled to go kill.
Yeah. Why are you killing? Who are you killing for?
Yeah. It's our country. Because that's embedded in them. That's what's taught them.
And I listen for the servicemen and the soldiers, and unbelievable what they do. I take my hat off to them. But on the other hand, who are you fighting for? You know, because the country's let you down. Yeah. You're away dying for your country, fighting for your country, but yet no one fights for you when you come back.
No, exactly right. And the road you're going down now, though, is like, it's all the manipulation and control. And it all they use religion. I mean, what's a human being? Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. These are the four counterparts of our being. Yeah. So if you are doing all four of them, you are fulfilling your human nature. Okay. But the fourth one, spirit, we need to have faith in something, some belief in something, even if it's just their self. So they've monopolized God or religion, whatever religion, and use that as a control over us, so the masses, the herds, yeah? for thousands of years. Even go back to the Egyptians when they were doing it. You know, it was that was always been there. But there is an ability to manifest things, a thing to make things happen. Some religions say through prayer, magic say through will. You know, it's all the same thing.
Yeah.
And right, so agnostic teachings, Jesus Christ, for example, yeah, the real agnostic teachings of Jesus Christ, and a lot of people are going to argue with me about this, yeah, are very similar to the teachings of the magician in the Law of Thelema, yeah. Fundamentally, that is, yeah. So the magician learns to create through will and manifest things through the universe, the power of the universe, calling them the powers of the universe, yeah. Which is another God, if you like. The universe is God, if you like, yeah. And religion is through God, etc., etc. Jesus Christ was trying to teach everyone, I think, in the agnostic teachings, and that's the real teachings of Christ. He was trying to teach every one of us that we can be God's ourself, yeah. Like he's the Son of God. I am the Son of God. He's like termed as a God, yeah. We have all that ability to get where he got through his way. So the way through Christ, if you follow Christ's way, you can become like Christ, yeah. And so, I mean, there still needs to be clarity on what I'm saying there. It's just like to get you to going where I'm talking about, yeah. The agnostic teachings of Christ were taken away, yeah. Dead Sea Scrolls, for example, yeah. Book of Bartholomew, Mary Magdalene, all these books that are talking about what I'm talking about were taken out of the Bible. Why? You know, because these teachings were the real teachings of Christ. These were the teachings that make you follow the path you should have been following, which was Jesus Christ's path, which is the part I'm getting confused with what I'm saying here, yeah? You get what I'm saying? Yeah. The agnostic teachings of Christ are very important in my second book, but it's not about just Christ, it's Christ energy, and it's what he's trying to depict, what he's talking about. You correlate that with all the other, what we were talking about, different religions. They all resonate around the same sort of thing, you know.
Just before we finish up, mate, for anybody that's maybe stuck in a life of struggle right now, you've battled yourself, you've overcome it, what advice would you have for them?
Find your higher power, yeah. Take control of your life. I am monad, yeah. You know what I'm saying when I say it. I can tell you, I can see it.
Yeah, powerful words.
Yeah, you become yourself, you know, and then if you understand the archons and the demerge, yeah. So let me tell you about the archons just briefly, yeah. The demerge is like in the beginning. There's a female version of God who created from the archon, created the archons and the world of the demerge, and these are like similar to demons. They're like spirits, blind forces, troll-like that feed off human emotion and problems. So they interact with you, your mind. They come into your thoughts. You know, you're thinking, and like you start thinking negative, or you start getting paranoid. It's their fault. They're doing it, and your response to that, they're feeding off of that emotion kind of thing. Yeah. So when you declare yourself, I am monad, yeah, if you understand that and study that properly and really go through the ritual side of it, you take all that back and you're on a different frequency to them then. Yeah, they cannot interact with you anymore. And I swear, I don't get that shit. The tiny little negative stuff. Every morning when I wake up, yeah, I sit on the side of my bed. I don't pick my phone up like everyone else does and gets its instructions for the world. I sit on the side of my bed and I visualize a golden crown coming on top of my head, and I feel the weight of that crown on my head, and then it all fills me up. And then I state to the words, I am king of my own universe. I am God of my own universe. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I have abundance. I am well. They are my first thoughts that I put in my head before I start every day. And then I say to myself, today I'm going to do this, or today I'm going to do that. Yeah. There is no, yeah, but this will happen or that'll happen, which a lot of people get. You know, they might set off their day to do something positive, but by the time they get down the end of the road, someone's told them to do this, someone's to do that, and they've lost track of what they was actually going to do, and they never get around to doing it. So I am. Why not? Best time in my life is now.
Paul, listen, I wish you nothing but the best for the future. Thanks for coming on the show, and I look forward to seeing the rest of the books, brother.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
Take care, and God bless.
Do you want me to sign that?
Yeah, please.